But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know if it was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to get an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
They won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. And hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. What's up, guys? It is Friday night, and that means it is show night. And tonight, we have a very special show for you. Tonight is everything about the Skinwalkers. We have a special guest from Navajo Nation. Goes by the name Latecap3 on Reddit. And he's going to introduce himself to you in just a moment. But that's what's going on tonight. I'm calling it everything you ever knew about Skinwalkers was wrong. Even though, asterisk, because maybe that's not entirely true. But it's going to be pretty fascinating. We're going to get to the bottom of what some of the pop culture takes on the actual Skinwalker is, maybe the George Knapp version and Skinwalker Ranch and this type of thing, and actually hear from what somebody that is part of Navajo Nation, the Navajo Nation, and actually grew up with learning some of these actual tales from basically just being around it, living in it, and having family and community and people that have talked about these legends for basically his whole life. So again, Latecap3 on Reddit. His name is Danon, I think is what his name is. So he'll introduce himself in just a moment when we get on here. But we're going to do what we normally do for just a sec. We'll do shout-outs. We're going to skip the news tonight. We're going to go straight to Danon in just a sec. And then we're going to do all the things Skinwalkers tonight, right? Like, how exciting is that? For all the speculation and all the things we've talked about in the past, and some of the garbage websites you find, the sketchy, questionable information on. It's nice to have like an actual expert in the field that's been there and done that and can kind of tell you what this stuff is really all about. So there we go. That's what's going on. So we're gonna skip the news tonight. We're gonna go straight to the guest in just a couple minutes here, and so we'll do shout outs. So we are streaming live. We're streaming on of course, we stream on Facebook, we're streaming on YouTube, we're streaming on Periscope, we're streaming on DLive, we're streaming on Twitch, the whole deal, right? We're streaming on all of it, we're watching chat on all of it, and so we'll read chat as we go. If you have questions for the guest tonight, we'll try and read some of the chat. Danon will be reading chat in Discord there, so if you want to throw some questions in. He'll be able to pick some out and answer them himself. So because of that, tonight the phone lines are going to be down. We're not going to take direct calls, and then we'll see how this goes. And maybe we'll do Discord at the end if somebody wants to ask him direct questions, if he's okay with that. So we'll find out in just a moment here. But that's what's on deck tonight. We're going to skip the news. A very special show. We got a special guest. So we're going to talk about everything that is Skinwalkers. All the things that you never wanted to know or always wanted to know and were afraid to ask. That's what I meant to say. So there we go. Hold on. Let's see. All right. So pulling up chat here. So that's what's on deck tonight. So go ahead and type in the chat where you're listening from. We'll do quick shout outs, and then we'll get to Dana in just a moment here. There's a lot to talk about with this because, of course, as you know, right, we talk about Skinwalker Ranch a lot on this show, and some of the bizarre and crazy phenomenon that goes on there. So it's a little bit going to be refreshing for me to hear it straight from the source, and one of the, I guess we could probably call this guy an expert, right? From an actual expert on skinwalkers and not just some of the media concoctions that they try and feed us all the time. So there we go. That's what's on deck tonight. Looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. And so let's do it. We're going to start with Doug. Doug gets first on Facebook. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for showing up. Gabe gets a close second. Hello, Gabe. Good evening. We got Christopher. Thanks for showing up tonight. Greetings, fellow Earthlings. Let's see. Doug says the rise of the monolith and the fall. What's up, William from Singapore? Thanks for being here tonight. We got Matt. I'm not sure where Matt's from. I can't remember everything. Matt, thanks for being here tonight. Matt from Facebook. How about that? Let's see. Who else do we got? Darius. How you doing, my man? Darius from Kentucky. There you go. Kentucky. Let's see. Sean, meteorites invented life on Earth. He says, maybe. I'm gonna drop a solid maybe on that one. Let's see. Who else we got? Sean. We got Darius. We got Doug. Doug from Huntington Beach, California. We got Elizabeth from Oregon. How you doing, Elizabeth? See, I can remember most times. We got Scully from North Carolina. Yes. Black Manted Crew checking in. What's up? We got Melvin from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Moo, says Darius. We got Derek from Saskatchewan, Canada. What's up? We love our Canadians. Joe from Florida. How you doing, my man? We got Tamron from South Africa. Thanks for being here tonight. Let's see. Scully says, really interested in this. Portals, Skinwalkers, etc. So freaking ready. Yes. So am I. This should be pretty hot. Robert, what's up? At last, here on time. Well, welcome to On Time World. Did you time travel? Is that how you made it? What's up, Larry? Thanks for being here tonight. JJ, what's up? Harriman, Tennessee, land of the only free left. Agreed. Larry from Canada, thanks for being here. We got Roger from Oklahoma. Let's see. Jimmy, how you doing, my man? And JJ, hello. All right, let's go to YouTube, and then we'll hopefully get into this. We got Eli gets first on YouTube. Thanks for being here tonight. We got Super Vike. What's up? Thumbs down, Captain Super Vike. Thanks for being here, my man. We got Bailey. Hello, Bailey. How are you? Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for all the help. We got Fred. Good evening, Fred from Phoenix. How you doing? Bailey's in Hawaii. Bailey from Hawaii. Let's see. Super Vike. We got Bandit Cats on YouTube. Thanks for being here. We got Noble Cal-El. What's up, my man? Thanks for boosting the Discord again. We got who else do we got? Arc Platinum. Good evening. Virtual hug. Thanks for being here. Arc has been a very good, very good. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing the Johnny Now thing, and thanks for being enthusiastic about the show. It makes it really easy when you guys are here and anticipating what's coming next. I appreciate that a lot. With us, Bailey, I said we got Marge. How you doing, Marge? Thanks for showing up. Oahu. What's up, Bailey? From Oahu. Okay, I think we're good. I think that's caught up. So, yeah, that's what's on deck tonight. So again, we're gonna be doing some Discord here with let's see, I got to get these names right. I'm terrible with names. Like I said, if my mom wasn't screaming my name at me my entire life, I'd never have learned my own name. Danon, which is Latecap3. Met the guy on Twitter, and not Twitter, Reddit, and he's got a bunch of great posts there where he's actually doing his thing, talking about skinwalkers. So he posted some fascinating stories, and that's what we're doing tonight. So let's do this. Let's get Danon in here, and let's do the sound check test. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Latecap3. Danon, are you with me? Can you hear me?
Hello.
What's up? What's up, my man? I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I gathered is your name is Danon. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know what to call you, and I got it right. I cheated. I listened to somebody else's podcast where you did all that. So I did my scouting report. Thanks for being on the show tonight. My name is Michael Strange. This is the first time actually making our acquaintance here in meeting. So just want to make sure you know what to call me, and You can curse at me too. It's okay. I won't get offended.
Yeah, it's fine.
We have a good time here. Okay, so all right. Let's any opening comments? I want to say anything before we get going? As you know, we have a ton of questions here to ask you and a lot to get into. But how do you want to start this out? This is pretty chill conversation. We're going to just talk about skinwalkers tonight.
Yeah, pretty much just a paranormal documentator, I guess. At the moment, it's just kind of amateur, startup, low budget, and everything. But there is a lot of different perspectives about them.
Definitely about this show in particular. We talk about skinwalkers often because basically it's kind of entwined with the UFO culture at this point because of that whole Skinwalker Ranch bit, right? It's got a lot of press in recent years. It's kind of probably been overhyped in a lot of capacities, and we find ourselves with a lot of questions. And that's why we're here. Okay, so then let's just start. Let's start the normal way, the way you would always start something like this. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're part of the Navajo Nation. Is that correct?
Yeah, okay. I am part of the Navajo Nation.
Okay, so let's start there.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. We got you cutting out here. I can't hear you, so whenever you get back in, we'll go. So he actually warned me that he's got kind of sketchy internet sometimes if the weather's a little bit rough. So he said that we'd be able to do this if the weather held up. So let's see. So as of right now, Danian, I cannot hear you. So it looks like you're still in the channel. But okay.
Okay, hold up.
Okay, you're good. I can hear you now. No problem.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out my phone.
Oh yeah, no sweat.
Oh yeah, but the one misconception I got wrong was the whole creation story that was from what is it? 39 minutes to 55 minutes. Yeah, there is a paranormal connection and a physical perception about them. And there's a lot of misconceptions, even among how, I guess you would say, Western trends depict them.
Yeah, I've done several shows on them, and like depending on what website you pull up, you get like an entirely different batch of information. On very basic things too, on simple things like you would expect is maybe going to be across the board the same, like what they look like and things like this. We'll get into that a little bit later, so in some of those specifics. But yeah, let's start with you. So what's your name? You're obviously in Arizona somewhere. And how long have you been into the paranormal researching and skinwalkers in particular?
I guess you would say probably sometime. Actually, my name is Danon Tahani. I am from the Navajo Nation and stuff. But I recently got into it probably when I was like in junior high, I guess. But I guess Navajos need a setting to tell their encounters and sort of, because most times if you just ask them straight up, they would not try to tell you. And again, most descriptions they would give is kind of similar to how Western trends depict them also.
Even where you live, even like on a reservation where you would expect maybe they know a little bit more about it. You were mentioning to me that even the education for the children at this point, like they're kind of learning the Western version of this, right? Like the kind of internet version of this instead of like the traditional version, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a learning repercussion, because it's been taboo for so long to talk about, even just to ask an elder. They would tell you scary stories, kind of like paranormal stories, but if you ask them for like a traditional story, I guess you would say like how Coyote is depicted in our tradition. my grandfather told me is that's Skinwalker. And ever since then, I guess my perception kind of changed a little, because we do have a little kids cartoon stories about Coyote, him talking to all these animals, see what's wrong with them. But he also deceives them in some way for something he wants in the end. Yeah, it's like 6 episodes, short stories.
So they actually teach that in school, then, is what you're saying. So there's like a 6-episode cartoon series type thing going on where they're teaching them about like the child's version of the Skinwalker.
It's I guess you would say it's a way for them to learn about how Skinwalker would play a role in our culture, but also not saying Skinwalker and all those other words. They just say Coyote, because I guess Coyote is the main form it probably takes. And this is where it kind of gets complicated, because between the written version, that everything that's written back when our culture was being documented and written out by researchers, non-natives, and probably natives who wanted to document these stories. There's a difference between the Navajo people, the shaman, then whichever region these stories happen, there's a difference between that, between the Navajo people and the shaman. Then elders have different versions too, that's far different from how the Navajo people would depict it, and how it's written in the, I guess you would say, a rushed education documentation for, I guess, like an educated documentation of stories and stuff. Because our stories do have two understandings. It's more for adults to understand these stories, and it's up to them to see how they understand it. And I guess from the perspective of the person telling them these stories, like an elder, it's up to them to see how they decipher these learnings, and if they change, or if they don't change and stuff like that.
Right. So you got to.
Yeah, that is
keep.
That is kind of like a little controversy I see.
Yeah, like, well, you lose it, right? So if you're doing that, it's like it's kind of like any education system. Even like you go to regular school today, and the things they're teaching you now, it's shifted so far from what they even taught in school 30 years ago, that you end up losing like the vein of the culture, and it can change ever so swiftly. It's amazing. And so it's the same sort of thing. If you don't go back to the real stories, like the word of mouth, like passed down from generation to generation type stories, you lose a lot of these important details. Like you said, they kind of get washed out and cartoonized a little bit, right? It's tragic to me that we're kind of on the verge of losing so many of these fantastic stories and mythologies, and the magic that goes along with this. And I say that in terms of like the the wonder, but also like maybe the real magic, that kind of sits with this phenomenon and everything else, right?
There's also one factor in it that plays an effect too, is the whole genocide of Native Americans and their stories and all that. But for the Navajos, ours started after the Navajo Long Walk, because I guess you would say we were nomadic in some sort of way. We did travel between the Colorado plateaus, going into south of Arizona, into probably say the Mexican territories. We were nomadic. We traveled between seasons, winter and summer, going between these two places, and this will also play another factor in one of my other connections later on. But after the Navajo Long Walk, we kind of before the Navajo Long Walk, we lost a lot of stories and stuff because we were so separated. We weren't, I guess you would say we were a raider band because at the time we weren't on good terms with the surrounding tribes, including it be Apaches, a split off from the Navajos, the Utes, Pueblo, Hopi, Cheyenne, I think it was Comanche, the Ute, the Havasupai, the Hualapai. It's because of these ratings, I guess you would say there was another factor for the Navajo Long Walk, plus the Union back in this old America, I guess. And from there, we kind of lost a lot of stories. And it was after this that I barely learned of that we had after we got our reservation set on the reservation and stuff, we had a Navajo witch purge.
Oh.
And it's kind of differs off into different versions, but what I've seen written was Skinwalkers, a group of Navajo medicine men who differed off from the learning of traditional ways. And there's a lot of other scary stories that involve the Navajo Long Walk before and after, and what these Skinwalkers did before and after, and how they play a role before and after. But the reason for the witch purge, I guess you would say, was because a treaty that was signed was given to, it was left near a fort, I guess you would say, and it was wrapped in bones. And the Navajos at the time didn't want to get on bad terms again with old America, and they, I guess you would say, they went on their own purge, a secret purge of witches.
The witches, like the witch hunts, like we have here in Massachusetts.
But this also has, an influence from Christianity, the pilgrimage, and all the settlers, and because they believed in so much of witches back in Salem. This is also an influence, I guess you would say, for this witch purge, because it was thought of as bad, even if I guess you would say, if white people believed it, I guess they thought that it could happen too. So they did this purge, and I just barely learned of this too. But there is scary stories that they tell of different perspectives, but yeah.
That's fascinating. I had no idea that was a thing. So, and this is again, right? So these are the things that we aren't taught in school for sure. And then this is something that you're learning now. You're kind of relearning some of these old traditions and stories that maybe get cast aside. Like I said, I think this is critically important that we talk about this stuff, because if you don't, it gets forgotten. It literally disappears into history if these types of things aren't retold. And so again, I thank you for coming on the show, because this is a big deal to me. I think it's for every culture of the world around. I think it's just critical that we pass this stuff on. It does get lost, and the biggest tragedy to me is exactly that. And we talk about on this show how the internet kind of rewrites history, right? So it's basically whatever crappy website goes up with whatever information, that becomes the new history, right? Like the people they Google things and they learn it from the internet. And again, back to the education thing. It's just a tragic thing, in my opinion. So let's actually go back real fast. So for many people, we have people that listen all over the world on this show. So let's talk about. I mean, it's widely known that when America was settled by the white man, let's just call him that, and that they had a very contentious relationship with the Native Americans. Like, contentious is a polite word. It was ugly. It was downright ugly. So many people know that, but what they probably don't know about the Navajo Nation at this point is that what is that long walk? So in 1864, they were kind of in their area, which is as far as I'm aware, it's where the reservation is currently, right, which is around the Four Corners area, like northeastern Arizona, kind of right in there. Am I right?
Yeah, there's separate tribes of the Pueblo. They're scattered between Arizona and New Mexico.
Okay, and then so in 1864, the tribe was forcibly moved off of their land up into New Mexico. I can't remember the name of the fort, but this is 1863, 64, I believe, and it was called the Long Walk. And clearly, it wasn't a happy time. There were terrible things going on. Every time you forcibly do anything to any kind of people, it's just ugly. I mean, there's going to be death and all kinds of terrible stuff. But you want to kind of fill us in on what happened with that, just so people have a better understanding of where this is kind of coming from.
I could get real, kind of like political.
Got cut off there, so you just started.
And
okay,
and advancement and stuff for America and stuff.
Yeah, whatever you just said got cut off. It just got.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, the views that are told about how it played out are kind of political and stuff. But one thing is, yeah, we were kind of on bad terms with surrounding tribes, and I guess America at the time was set on settling in the Wild West. And a wagon trail does go through, I guess you would say, old I-40, the Route 66 and stuff. That is an old wagon trail. There's several wagon trails, I guess you would say, that probably are old, ancient, probably gone by now by desertification and stuff. But yeah, it's mainly for settling and trying to settle the Wild West.
Yeah, like I said, ugly. Like there's no two ways about it. It was an ugly time. A lot of terrible stuff happened, like I said, and so they moved basically this huge. From some accounts from Wikipedia, again, I don't know what to believe on the internet because you read this stuff and you just don't know. But it said approximately 9,000 people were moved from that Four Corners area up into New Mexico or the particular fort. Many lives lost in the move and frozen to death because they weren't given enough supplies to even stay warm or eat and things like this. So, like I said, just a lot of ugly. But so this happens in 1863, 1864. They're forcibly removed, and then so what happens after that? At some point, they get back at least to the Four Corners area where their reservation is now.
Yeah, there's a thing they don't teach even in our Navajo cultures, how we were freed from Bosque Redondo, the concentration camp. But I guess you would say immigrants, German, Irish, many people of ethnicities coming through those old wagon trails, going fort to fort to avoid Native Americans in hopes of not being caravan raided. But people did see these Navajos in these concentration camps, and I guess you'd say it was the wives of wealthy people, noble people, people of wealth, businessmen. They slowly protested in these cities, the American cities, showing them telling them the unjust treatment of the Navajos at this fort. And what else? They did protests outside this fort, but it wasn't documented because I guess you'd say women were thought of as not to be taken seriously and stuff around, as like how ideology at the time was. But they did protest outside these forts, and they kind of, I guess, gained the momentum to make it known. But there's also stories that these soldiers at these forts would try to take the Navajo out into the land to try find farming spot. And the Navajos kind of figured this out early on, and they purposely showed them these bad spots to grow plants, places that are kind of barren And we do have a lot of salt sand. It's pretty much everywhere because we are a highland desert, and we do have separate mesas. But yeah, that's one thing I learned too.
Yeah, so much that doesn't get taught in the mainstream. That's again fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So at some point, whatever happened, I'm not sure. It was unclear in some of the things that I read about it, but there was either some sort of political pressure or something happened where eventually this camp called a concentration camp, and I think that's exactly spot on, that they finally moved them out and put them back, at least somewhat similar in their old territory, and allowed them to go back. Do we know what triggered that? Was it that political pressure of actually protesting, or was it something else? Do you know?
It was a combination of both, giving bad information to where to settle, where to grow, and I guess political pressure at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it was 1863, 1864 they were marched off of their land, put in this concentration camp. 1868, I believe it was, they were actually allowed to go back. So that's a long several years there where things were bad. So
there's like several.
Sorry, go ahead.
Proxy war stories. There's several proxy war stories with our war chiefs at the time battling with the Union soldiers and a militia of different tribes and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't just back to life as normal. It was still infighting and like you would expect, right? You kind of have like a power void. You haven't been kind of living in your own devices, on your own ways for several years. I think that's a little bit expected. So after they settle in, so I think that probably fills in. Is there anything we're missing that you think we need to add? Because of course, after, I don't know, it's going to be probably 100 years before things maybe finally normalized, right? Because it's just back to a new way of living. You'll never get the old ways back. So a lot of transition, a lot of change. Anything we should probably mention so we don't gloss over this too lightly, because it is an important part of the story here.
There were regular families who held out, people who congregated together, who I guess you would say who had no family members, widowed people, widowed husbands and wives. There was even children who were by themselves and stuff. Elders who had no family members to take care of them. They sort of congregated together at the time, running away from these Union soldiers and militia tribes to avoid being caught. There's several sad stories. More than several sad stories that talk about what happens when these militia tribes or the Union soldiers capture or try to capture these Navajos. But it's very sad, even with the
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Like I said, I just want to be respectful. If you think there's anything that needs to be said that people need to hear, I think it's important to get it out. So if I'm pushing a little too hard and trying to make you say something and you don't feel comfortable, it's totally cool. We're not here to.
Oh no, it's cool. I understand.
Okay.
Yep, because people in our culture probably weren't given the opportunity to learn these stories either from being dropping out or personal reasons or personal experiences leading up to not learning about their Navajo culture and stuff. But it's the same thing I'm doing with trying to document the Skinwalker, because it is taboo and it's kind of a learning repercussion to learn about, to even learn about them, I guess you would sort of say.
Yeah. So one of the things actually that I'll reference this as we go, but kind of the pop culture version of like the Skinwalker at this point is kind of the George Knapp version. And I'm not sure if you know who George Knapp is. He's like a UFO guy, probably one of the most prominent UFO guys. He's a reporter out here in Las Vegas, and he had a hand in writing the Skinwalker Ranch book, and he's been there several times. And so you know what I mean? It's kind of like you get these legends that they get these, bastardized versions of, and they try and I mean, they're doing their best. They're good, smart people in many cases, but there's still like information that they say they couldn't get from the tribes because they were reluctant to talk about these entities, these skinwalkers, these witches, these spirits, whatever they happen to be, right? And so a lot of what they get is from kind of second and third hand legends. They couldn't get any direct information. So I think that in particular is notable to point out. Just like you said, it's kind of like for you looking into it, even there with your own folks, like people it's still kind of looked down upon to be talking about this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a misconception that everybody thinks a Navajo knows what a skinwalker is.
Yeah, well, that makes a little bit of sense. Well, but we got you, so that's a step.
Yeah, I've been learning about them for several years now, but there's a complex differential between like the physical skinwalker and the actual paranormal skinwalker.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They are out there. There is real skinwalkers if they are one or the same.
Okay, so they do exist. Okay, so then, all right. And unless you have anything else about just kind of the brief history of the Navajo Nation, there, let's go with the some of the mythology that started this. How about maybe that I know you talked about in the other podcast. What was her name? Is it Lady Raven or something like that?
Madam Raven.
Madam Raven on YouTube, guys. If you guys haven't checked it out, she's that's where I saw Danian here in the initial podcast, and then I saw him on Reddit as well. So he does have one where he talks about this.
And that's the story I got the misconception on with the creation story, our Navajo creation.
Okay, perfect. So I did see that you had a correction there on Reddit that you want to do kind of fix a part you left out or something. So let's just start there. Let's give you a chance to kind of iron that out and get it right. So regarding the mythology and how the creation story of the Navajo goes, why don't you fill us in?
Pretty much what we learn in school is the written version, the controversial one I was talking about. It also differs into many perspectives, worldly and regionally, where everything did happen. But yeah.
Okay, so a lot of creation stories start with looking at mythologies the world over. Is it's like the sun and the moon, or like the ocean and the land, or a male and female, and they're attributed to these things. How does it start in the Navajo culture there? How do they explain how creation begins?
It's what we have 4 worlds, I guess you would say. In the written version, it starts out as a dark world. First man, first woman have to find each other, and after they find each other, they create, I guess you would say, beings, elementals, plants, insects, birds, fish, mammals. I guess like you say, an ecosystem. But I guess there's some turmoil that takes place, and it's kind of becomes unbalanced, and it is destroyed by deities in fire, a world destroyed in fire. But yeah, destroyed in fire. So.
Okay, so there was an original world, some sort of unbalancing happens, destroyed in fire. And then what happens with the world after that?
First man and first woman that were made in this creation, they save everything, I guess, they created by corn reed. And this corn reed goes into a blue world. But some animals are unable to see because it was kind of bright, I guess you'd say. Then they do more creation, more deity, more entity creation. they bring previous creations from the first world, like our sacred mountains, our creation of the sacred mountains, the clouds that represent the sacred mountains, pretty much everything. But again, it becomes unbalanced and everything goes into turmoil, and it is destroyed by wind. And again, first man and first woman plant a corn reed again in the yellow world. Is made. He's. I guess the misconception again about how he's made differs between the written version, regions, the Navajo people, how shamans depict them, how elders depict them. But in the written version, he is made from an egg, born from an egg. And this world was sort of prosperous for a while. It was until Coyote takes, I guess, a water monster that was in this world, in the ocean, and everything starts to flood. Endless rain, endless flooding. I guess you say this was sort of similar to Christianity's version of how the Great Flood happened. But everybody was sort of wondering why this was happening. The animals, the deities, the beings, and everybody. And it was only when Coyote showed them that he took this water monster's egg that they decided to place this. I forgot what it was. They placed it on in something, and he goes into the water, and the water monster accepts this offering, but the world was still flooding, and they again, first man, first woman, plant this corn reed, and we emerge into the fourth world, the glittering world. And the last animal I would say that left that world was the turkey, and there's a special meaning about the turkey, I guess you would say, in several native cultures, because turkey was an isolated animal to North America before European discovery and before they transported back to European nation. But yeah, we emerged. Kind of.
Okay, you're just to let you know. I don't know if you can hear me. You're cutting out again. So we got the fourth world, the glittering world. We got the turkey, the native animal there that had a special place in the culture. But I'm not sure. Let's see. Let me make sure you're still on the channel here. Like I said, Dane in here warned me that sometimes his internet can be a little sketchy. So no problem. I don't sweat it because there's so much good information he's telling us. So just hang with it here. I don't know if you're still there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now. So we got the glittering world. We got the turkey being part of the culture and special in the culture, and then you cut out right after that.
Isolated animal to North America before European discovery, and before it was transported and cultivated everywhere else. But yeah, we emerged into the glittering world. Now, where it gets into mythology, Navajo mythology, lores of, because the glittering world is the present world we are in right now. Very controversial because there's different perspectives from how our culture is to how Navajo's depicted in the written version between regions, elders, shamans, Navajo people. But our creation sort of shares similarities to other several tribes that surround us. But one similarity connection I made is with the Hopi culture on several parts, not a lot, just several parts, because I haven't heard much of how the Hopi culture came to be. Yeah, we emerge into this glittering world, then there is a lot of monsters to go into, how they differ. They differ a lot between region and the version. Yeah, we have several different monsters, I guess, in mythology.
But yeah, like pretty much every culture does. Let me ask you regarding like the deities, like the gods. Is there like one or two, or is it many? Like like the Indian culture has, like East Indian has several gods, like dozens even. But Christianity has one.
Yeah. What I've learned collectively from other tribes is these deities differ between elementals type, like air, wind, fire, earth, and they also differ kind of like in a setting of like an ecosystem type, and they also differ into a bunch of other things.
Okay, so kind of like nature spirits, like guardians of nature type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so there's nutshell creation. Is there anything else we should add to this before we get to where the Skinwalker fits into this creation story and spirit or whatever else?
Yeah, the whole creation story I did with Madame Raven and how the Skinwalker fit, but from what my grandfather told me, again, how he told me Skinwalker was Coyote in those children videos. I think since the purge and the taboo learning and the repercussion of learning about it, I think Coyote is sort of plays more into our culture. I think Skinwalker plays more into our culture as Coyote and stuff.
So that's what they call him. Like the name for Skinwalker is Coyote. They call him this Coyote.
It's more of like how he's mainly seen, like how other gods in India, Tibet, China, how their gods are seen only as in some like animal form or different multiple forms.
I see. Okay. So he's like okay. So and that's one of the things that is pretty widely known is that a Skinwalker is a shapeshifter, and a Coyote is one of those main forms that the Skinwalker would take. Is that right?
Oh, did you get that?
Nope.
Am I cutting out?
Yep, just cut out. I didn't hear anything you said there.
I said yeah, I agreed.
Okay, so that's basic. That's one of the things that everybody knows, and it seems to track with what the culture says. Coyote, shapeshifter. They call him Coyote in the pantheon of the gods and the nature spirits. So I guess let's see, where else do we go from here? So regarding Coyote, I'll take it right from. I gave you the list of questions here, but in European mythology and folklore, a trickster spirit is prevalent in many of these stories. Is this like a similar type of thing where this is an individual that shows up in spirit as a spirit, whatever you want to call this, like maybe not even a nature guardian. This would qualify as a monster, right? But is
he does qualify as a monster.
Okay, so definitely a monster. So is it in the same sort of idea where it's like this entity, the Skinwalker, the Coyote, kind of lives to toy with people, to cause mischief and problems? Is it like that, or is it something different? What do you think the intention of a Skinwalker or a Coyote would be?
His pleasure is to cause turmoil and deception amongst the deities, entities, plants, elementals, fish, everything. I guess you would say everything in creation. He deceives in some way for something he wants.
Okay, so he does. The Coyote Skinwalker is sort of unhappy with the natural world and tries to make his own terrible version of it through his magic and doings, I guess is what we're saying here.
This is the mythology and lores and versions of how Skinwalker is depicted in these, how he is depicted, how he, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, ish. Okay, so all right, so then so it is a definitely he's a trickster, but he's more malevolent. He's trying to break things. He's trying to break nature. He's trying to fool people, make them crazy, ruin families. He's trying to do these types of really bad things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cutting out again, just FYI, if you can hear me.
All of it. Navajo shamans wanted it to be written out. But this also conflicts with how I was told how Skinwalker or how Coyote played a role in our culture. But I'm pretty sure it's changed since then, since I was in mid school or grade school. I'm pretty sure there's more stories they added ever since then.
And so,
but yeah.
So where do these stories come from? Do you think they're factual stories? Do you think they're fabrications or modern culture versions? Or where do you think the new stories come from?
It's still, I guess, in the process of being documented. And all these stories come from a collective information between the elders currently, the elders we had several generations ago, and the Navajo people who live in these regions. That's the controversy that we have personally.
I see. Okay. So it's good. So the information that's coming out about them is good information. You think it's coming from the right sources, from passed on from the generations, and I guess I
find that as definitive. If there is any more stories that did come out and changed since I was in grade school and stuff.
Okay, so it is happening. That's a good thing. Okay, so then, so how about so coyote, this Skinwalker is a spirit, right? A monster, a spirit, a witch. Does all that count, or is there a more strict classification of what this actually is? Missed all of that, whatever you said.
I think you got everything good. Yeah.
Okay. Pretty much missed all that. So, if you want to repeat, sorry about that.
Yeah, my phone is cutting in and out.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't mind if you don't mind. Like I said, it's good information we're getting here, and a fantastic conversation. This is stuff people need to know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so how is the Skinwalker then related to the like I brought up spirit guides in the text I sent you there? Is it similar? Is it different? Again, is he spirit? Is he witch? Is he monster? Like what's the classification here? If you had to boil it down to one or two things,
I guess you would say he plays multiple roles of how he is depicted in our culture and stuff, and how he plays a role physically in our world. But currently, how I depict Skinwalker as Coyote is different from a lot of how the Navajo people would depict it. And it is controversial, but it is also mind-opening to think about for the Navajo people to think that Coyote is Skinwalker this whole time because of the Navajo witch purge and the lost stories and all those other tragedies we had in losing our stories and stuff.
Okay, so still maybe trying to find the old ways, the old stories to get them back to be one single narrative. That makes some sense. Okay, so okay, let's go back to the notes here. All right, so let's see. So let's start with I've been posting this picture that we're playing, kind of what the like the pop culture version of what a skinwalker looks like. The depiction assumes the trickster shapeshifter. It's a spirit that looks like a wolf or a coyote, and the human look that this thing can attain is a dirty mud covered shaman, kind like that type of thing. That's really what we're showing here, and then like some shapeshift version of a coyote human hybrid with long legs, long arms, something like that. So
are you trying to ask if we have like any depictions of how a skinwalker would be depicted?
Exactly. Like, what do they actually look like is really what I'm asking.
Yeah, that one thing I ran into, like, sort of like a brick wall, is I've on my end, I've never seen no depiction of a skinwalker, or even how they are depicted, other than what I've seen in Western trends of how it's a person in a skin. Like
the skin of an animal. Like I've heard that in some of these stories that like to turn into a coyote, to shapeshift, they actually have to have the skin of a coyote with them, and they put it on them, and then they're able to shape change into this coyote, right? Something like that.
Yeah. But I guess this will kind of go into my paranormal collective documentations of, I guess, how you say, just collective information of people just saying what they believe they seen as a skinwalker. But this goes into the paranormal speculations I have of what is the original depiction of a skinwalker, other than how us the trend sees them as a person inhabiting a skin. And but my first sighting, the one I have illustrated on Reddit, my perception kind of is conflicted a lot of how they should be depicted and stuff. But everything I'm doing now is up to change between fellow tribal members and stuff.
I see. Okay, so no actual consensus here of what a skinwalker would actually look like. Kind of is what we're saying. Is that it's still kind of open to the jury. We have like maybe a person, a spirit, a witch, whatever it happens to be, with a skin, like walking around with some sort of animal skin, kind of draped over it, or something like this. Actually, here I've got your illustration. So let's actually go to that in just a sec here. So okay, so the skinwalker is humanoid then, in its most basic form, with some sort of skin over it, animal skin. So let's you have an actual illustration that you put up on Reddit here. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now so you can maybe explain, and then we'll get into your skinwalker sighting, because I believe you said you saw one, right?
Because she is into the faith theory and connections with other theories and mythologies. But yeah, this was near the end of her podcast, and we didn't really touch up on it other than what I saw as depictions and stuff.
Okay, but so this drawing that you have on Reddit, the pencil sketch, we get the graveyard with the crosses, and then this figure standing out there with long hair and some sort of maybe skin wrapped around him. This is what you saw, right?
That's a paranormal documentation I have that someone allowed me to share.
I see.
But
I see.
The one that's depicted is the one that looks like a furry fuzzy ball.
Okay, let's see. Which one? I've got the one with it's got like the Oasis, the Anasazi ruins, and the volcano cones. I've got one with like two horses.
Further down, it's one of the first few posts I made.
Okay, I think I didn't find it then. I thought that these were the only three that I noticed you had on there, so maybe I missed it. Okay, I'll see if I can.
I forgot the title. I think it's Navajo, Skinwalker, Northern Arizona, Folklore, Mythology, and Myth.
Okay, I'll see if I can dig that out. Okay, so, so then the one the sketch from the graveyard is, so that's not what you saw, but you did see a Skinwalker, am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Most sightings I've only have like 10 documentation sightings. Probably, I guess you would say collectively, based on other information in mines, that they are similar in some ways, and I would probably in some way count these as a documented sighting.
Okay, so approximately 10 first-hand accounts of witnesses that saw a Skinwalker. That seems like quite a lot to me. Okay, and so you did see one yourself with your own eyes. You want to tell us about that time?
It was in the time around I was in junior high, in 2008, 2009. Between those 2 years, where I live is where I originally lived was next to our local cemetery, and there is a buffer between like a open zone between my place where I lived or the place I grew up at and the cemetery. There was a mound built like an old pre-70s type flash flood barrier to control flash flood waters coming down, because everything in our town is sort of downhill. But this flash flood barrier did also hold back the drainages that would come off from the cemetery. And there's several little controversies that happened when these flash floods did happen, when the cemetery was first being built and built on a water, I guess you would say, little stream that ran off from the hillside. But in the little mound, the side of the mound, I was with my brother.
I hate to cut you off at the best part. You're cutting out. So if you can hear me, you're. So we got the flash floods, the cemetery, and then you cut out right after that.
This mound, the flash flood barrier mound. We were on the inside, along the side of the mound. We were just chilling, kind of like seated around in a circle. And the day before, in this area, there was bushes. We had horses come through, or I've seen horses come through, and they were just sort of munching around the bushes, because back then we didn't have barrier fences built up to keep wild animals and wildlife out. But they're up now, but back then they weren't around as much. And these horses would just wander around town. It was kind of common to see horses just wander around, eating bushes in town. But after that, at this mound, I heard the sound of like horses galloping. Probably more than one. They were the sound of galloping, how the heavy thudding of them hit the ground. I heard that, and I kind of wanted to see that because I never seen horses going sort of like a frenzy gallop. And my brother told me to stay put, and I kind of just followed along. But it's when these horse gallops kind of got closer, like a fast thudding gallop. It kind of got quiet, really quiet. The birds, everything, I guess you would say the ambience got real quiet. And I was facing towards my brother, and my brother was facing down the path we came along, where it goes into this mound. I just seen him point out. He cursed out and said, "What the hell is that?" And I was kind of slow to react. But when I turned around, I seen what I illustrated, that fuzzy ball. I guess you could call it a fuzzy ball, but to me it was a mass, a pointy mass, and it had no definitive head feature, no definitive body feature like the sides of the person's stomach, the hips, I guess you would call it. But all I've seen coming down from this thing, I guess my brother's seen more than I seen. I guess you say it probably paused because we were in the right moment at the right time, and I guess it wasn't aware that we were there too, that we were sitting there. That was probably the reason it stopped too. But the moment I turned around, I seen that fuzzy ball, and from it came the limbs, the arms and the legs. And I was really dumbfounded at the moment. In that split 2 seconds, I seen that just chilling there. And my brother ran at this thing, and it started taking off, and it sounded like a horse. And I was still dumbfounded, and he ran down the path to the end of where this was at. And it really changed my perception of reality and how I view a lot of things. Even amongst my Navajo culture, I guess you would say I'm conflicted. But this also spawned an interest to get behind how skinwalkers are depicted and how they are seen.
Okay, so I did find your illustration here. So I see it. It's looks like so it was kind of fuzzy with some limbs that kind of came out of the fuzz, like you said. Interesting that skinwalkers on Skinwalker Ranch in particular are, again, from the legends that we hear, because that's really all we get, right? Not living in Navajo Nation. We get what we hear from, like I said, George Knapp and the UFO community and things like this. But they're associated closely with portals and being able to travel through these through this special magic or whatever it is, right? I'm not exactly sure, but I wonder, looking at the sketch here, you've got so it was clearly blurring reality. You couldn't actually see specifically what this thing was, just parts of it. I wonder if it was kind of caught between two worlds or something a little bit. That's amazing that you were able to witness this and get us a sketch. So this is what a skinwalker looks like. Holy smokes. I didn't see this picture.
I talked about this with Matt Raven. What I think there's many perceptions of how these things can be depicted, and instead of one depiction. But from these spikes, I kind of thought they looked like quills, and it kind of did at the same time look like hair, like long protruding, long straightened out hair. And from this, at the edges, I guess you would say the outer rim of this fuzzy thing came out a mirage effect, like how you would see around a hot car on a hot day. And I guess you would say it has a power for illusions, I guess.
Wow. So interesting. So I wonder if it's like playing with your mind, right? It's kind of maybe tricking you to see what it wants you to see, illusion wise. That is absolutely crazy. Okay, so you saw this thing. We got the sketch up. Everybody's seeing what you drew here. What happened with it? Did it just it was startled by you guys? It didn't realize you were there. It kind of stopped, and then what happened after that?
I think we kind of both in some way, kind of, I guess you would say like a gut feeling. We were seeing each other by mistake, or it's at the right time. That was roaming around something. And controversy back in the 70s and 60s in my hometown, because we have well, now they are ATV trails, park paths, just like regular dirt trails people commonly use around our town. And our town's fairly small, probably 3 by 2 miles, and we do have an outskirt kind of setting. People just kind of spaced out with dark patches in between houses in this open desert area. What was I going to say?
The outskirts of town.
I lost my train of thought.
The outskirts of town you were describing. How kind of you get out there, and I think I'm in.
Oh yeah. These horse trails back in the day, the town was fairly small, really small. Probably a few hundred people at the time only inhabited the small area. With the boarding school, the government built. But I guess at the time, I guess you would call their outskirts. They would find these set of hand and footprints going in one straight line, going across the whole town, and slowly, I think over time, the Navajo people at the time are trying to, I guess you would kind of say, like, it's controversial for me to probably say it was probably like a cover-up to try to hide this knowing thingy, like a set of footprints and handprints running in a straight line going along what are now our paths. And it's not widely known to in my town, this little piece of information. And I've always thought of it as unique to know this little piece of information.
So they saw one of these things and they covered it up. You were kind of cutting it out just a little bit there, but so they actually saw one of these.
There's like evidence. I guess for us, it was also not accustomed to see footprints, a set of footprints and handprints running on beside each other in the sand.
I see.
Yeah, it was kind of. I guess you would say it was being seen as taboo, probably in those times too.
I see. So there were actually tracks of this thing that came through, and they didn't want it to get out because, evil spirits and this whole bit, right? I would think they don't want that being public knowledge.
Yeah, kind of commonly known, I guess you would say, that they didn't want people who wander around in these paths seeing these set of foot and handprints just going along in a straight line. But yeah, it is a unique piece of information to know about.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't make the history books, right? Doesn't get told around the campfire stories.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, crazy. Okay. So you did see it. Basically, I don't think I caught the end of it. That when you did see the Skinwalker, it ran off, or it disappeared, or what happened to this thing?
Kind of this path just wandered off into the trees towards our local cemetery in this open zone between the mount and where I grew up at. Okay.
So it took off. It didn't want a piece of you for some reason. Okay. Then, you did see it. So you mentioned it. So it took off kind of toward the cemetery. So that leads into the next question here. So where do Skinwalkers live? Is there like I talked about portals? Is it maybe they go into a portal and they live in another dimension or another part of something, or do they physically live here where maybe you could go into a burrow and find them, or things like this, maybe while they're sleeping. How does it work? Do you know on that? Do you have a theory?
Traditionally, in cultures, I don't know the stories because my connection to Navajo culture was my grandparents, and they passed away long ago when I was little. So I lost that piece of culture to know connections of I guess you could say, like, to ask for coyote, all these coyote story questions and stuff. But what I kind of have from people just talking about scary stories, their personal scary stories with encounters, or seeing skinwalkers in my paranormal speculations documentations I have. I kind of first want to touch on that we do have wind tunnels. I'm not sure if you heard of Wupaki National Park or National Park.
Yep, sure have. I actually heard about it when you were doing that other podcast. See, I told you I did my homework. But yeah, I know where you're headed with this. Let me ask the question then. Let me set this up for you. Okay, so we don't know where they live specifically, right? So okay, that's established. But how about this? So there are reports that say they can move extremely quickly, like up to 200 miles in one evening. So other supernatural powers attributed to the skinwalker, the coyote running in the skin translation, include being able to fly across canyons, run as fast as cars, and things like this. So let's set this up and go right ahead, sir.
One little depiction they did get right, and how we do view them is that we do view them that they can traverse across land in immense speeds. I'm not sure if you read the Navajo medicine man story I was told by a fellow elder, but there is kind of a bit of a little urban legend, I guess you would say, about medicine man, and how the depiction I have it is that fuzzy mass. There's an urban legend that goes that these medicine men can similarly turn into that, but their ambient light is white. It gives off no bright light like a flashlight, no ambient light, but they do give off an ambience of a white color. And the urban legend is that they do have similarities to skinwalkers too, and we just kind of flip that around, whatever we hear as urban legend from medicine men. But yeah, I kind of drifted off.
That's okay. I got you. We'll put you back on track. So they can move super quickly, and you were about to bring up the Wupaki wind tunnel. So let's talk about that, and maybe how that maybe coincides with how quickly they move and this type of thing.
This is the theory I have about how they one of the ways they could probably traverse across land. If you ever been to Arizona and drive through from Phoenix going to Flagstaff, you go up thousands of feet in elevation, and you come across the Red Rocks, which is the Red Rocks area, which is Sedona. The cliffside base of the mountain goes from north to south, and it's kind of unique to ecosystem in a way. But these animals are somewhere like that.
I'm sorry, we're struggling here.
Means at the cliffside.
You cut out there.
Oh.
You cut out there. So we heard Sedona, and then that was kind of it.
These were created. Flagstaff, the area of Flagstaff, it was an ancient volcano, and these created massive lava tubes going around in the area for hundreds of miles underground. And some of these actually open up in Sedona. And it's thought that atmospheric pressure, depending if it's high or low, and if it's windy in Sedona, that air goes through all these tunnels, whether it be small or big enough for a person to go through. But the spout that comes up north to Flagstaff is the Wupaki wind tunnel, or probably wind spout, I guess you could probably call it. But this, depending on wind pressure, if it's heavy or low, it pushes air in, or sucks air in, or it pushes air out, kind of like a nozzle. And the connection I made with this is in the Hualapai, in the Havasu, they have stories of people venturing into these tunnels that also start out at the Grand Canyon, these openings. And they venture into these tunnels and they talk about how these people would go hundreds of miles in random directions, probably say popping up in somewhere in Mexico or the Midwest or in the Colorado mountains. And that is something I always thought as unique, because the Hopis, I forgot what the village names were, but these villages are centered, some of them are centered around at the end of these wind tunnels, because they hold ceremonies to give offerings into these wind tunnels, because they believe this is where their deities, they have several stories I don't know about, but they have stories about these wind tunnels. And I guess you would say deities dwell in these supernatural beings. But these wind tunnels, I've heard, have resemblance to just looking like a spout, or if you ever been to Antelope Canyon, how the wind and rain carved out the crevice along the cliff. But I believe there's ancient, probably undiscovered wind tunnels that these skinwalkers, if like the one I have depicted, they probably use these wind tunnels to go across the land in massive amounts of miles and popping up in probably ancient, unknown, native sites.
Okay,
but this also... Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you? Go ahead, sir. Go right ahead.
But these also pop up in random...
That's for the luck of the draw. I say go right ahead, and then you as soon as I said go right ahead, you start talking and it cut out. So we didn't catch any of that. We're having great luck tonight.
Oh. We have stories about these wind tunnels too that involve our wind deities, I guess you would sort of say.
Okay.
And they talk about how these are used to bring winter and summer by using the winds going north and south. And these are the connections I made of how Skinwalker can use these wind tunnels and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm not sure other people could probably make with the missing 411 cases. Someone recently brought that up to me on the Reddit, and I started making several connections because I've recently just started watching his two documentaries. I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, David Paulides with the missing 411. There's a lot of really, really frightening and compelling things. We did that show a long time ago, but the crazy part is there's new missing persons cases all the time. Like I just saw a video the other day. I follow the guy on YouTube, guys, if you have not. David Paulides missing 411, and he just had like two. I can't remember where it was, but two like actual scientists just vanished, just completely disappeared, and they have no idea what happened to them. And again, like it's not like kind of the drifters of society going out in the forest and disappearing. Like we're talking about like PhD responsible people, that shouldn't get lost in the forest type thing, and they do, and they just go missing. It's crazy. Like so many just unsettling cases of what actually is going on there. So let me ask you this then, regarding maybe the missing 411 and skinwalkers. Do skinwalkers possibly hunt people and maybe eat them, or things like this? Is there anything like that going on?
They have two perceptions of how skinwalkers can be depicted, but that's pretty complex in itself. But there are stories amongst Apache that they have deities that roam these oases and lakes and mountains that take people. Even back then, long ago, before even history was written, when these Apaches dwelled or lived in these areas that formerly now their reservation. But yeah, they have stories of deities taking people in these forests. And I've talked with the fellow Apache tribal member, and we kind of speculated, and he kind of brought up that their deities see them, people, visiting these places as to have a reason to visit these places. You have to have a reason to visit these places. And if that reason is not met in the perception of whatever these deities are, they are allowed to take you because you trespass on their consecrated, I guess you would say, their piece of land that was given to them, and sort of say, in a sort of way, that sort of balances with Apache teachings.
Okay, so like we're talking forbidden sacred ground of some sort that you don't have a good reason to be there, then it's dangerous for people, and people do and have disappeared in these cases.
Yeah, even in Navajo culture, we do have people, like ancient stories of people going missing in these places.
Okay, so that's a little bit terrifying. So it does kind of line up with some of that missing 411 stuff. Okay, so all right, so we got some other good stuff here. Actually, so we're about halfway through this, so I'm not sure how long you wanted to stick around. I'm going to go 3 hours regardless. So I know it's a long time to sit in one place, but how you feeling? You want to take a quick break, and I'll just talk for a minute, and you can stretch your legs or grab a drink or something. Maybe hit the restroom. I just want to make it clear that it's totally okay. If you want to take a break for a minute, it's totally cool. Just want to throw that out there for you.
It's all good. You're helping me sort through some of my information, my collective information, to help organize it in a way that's presentable and stuff.
Okay, cool. I'm having a good time. Like I said, if you need a break or something, need to hit the restroom, just let me know. It's no problem. Just let me know. Go do it, and I'll take over for a minute. Okay, so hey, it happens all the time. Sometimes I just play music and take off for a couple minutes. That's the way it goes, right? So now regarding skinwalkers, so you say that there might be like just a speculative possibility here with missing 411, people kind of maybe stumbling into consecrated ground and being taken by spirits or entities. Maybe the skinwalker, maybe not. Maybe different monsters or entities or spirits or whatever they happen to be. Now, given all that, do you think there's a let's see. Let me spin this into a good question here. Let's see. I guess given that that's the case, skinwalkers get a bad rap as evil spirits, right? So clearly they seem to be some sort of threat to people, at least in a fearsome way that people are afraid of them. Is there any cases that you're aware of where skinwalkers aren't evil and tricksters and any of the rest of this stuff? Is there any other maybe depictions of skinwalkers where they're not these evil creatures and there's something else?
I wandered off. I'll answer the first question about the national parks.
Okay, go right ahead.
The national parks right now are centered around ancient native sites, I guess you would sort of say. And a lot of native tribes did inhabit these areas of the national parks. And in some way, I'm pretty sure if you ask the tribes that surround these national parks, they will tell you probably stories of, like, I guess how I would say, the region stories of what happens in these areas, in their culture and stuff. But that's one thing I wanted to touch on.
Okay, so they do go missing in these places, and we're not exactly sure why. Some of the stories suggest monsters or spirits or something. Okay, so were you taking a break? I missed that. You said you wandered off?
I kind of drifted off and wanted to touch on the national park one.
Okay, so were you going to take a break though? You just cut out again right now. You were so good. You were so good, and this is so painful because of this internet connection. I still can't hear you. Okay, I'm going to talk for a little bit because I don't know if you're there or, let me see. Did you leave the channel? What's going on? Bad internet? Yep, bad internet connection. Okay, so, all right, so we talked about a lot. We're here again. Let me fill in where we're at here. So we're on with, I met this guy on Reddit. His username is Latecap3. And his name is Danon, and he's he's a Navajo, actually Navajo Nation, and he's talking Skinwalkers with us tonight. And he's kind of briefing us on maybe some. We started with what actually happened and some of the Navajo history a little bit, and then we got into the creation mythology and how maybe the Skinwalker fits into that as a spirit or a monster or an elemental or these types of things. Like it could be. It kind of depends on who you talk to, and like he was saying earlier, that it's still difficult, even being part of the community there, that to get information out because people don't really like talking about the subject. It's still very taboo, and as you would expect, right? Kind of talking about evil spirits is probably not something people like to do anyway, in many cases, but. Yeah, so just kind of catching it up to where we're at, and there's a lot here, and it's curious that there's so much that maybe does parallel with like the George Knapp UFO version of Skinwalker Ranch, but then there's so much that kind of does not. It's we're kind of at a crossroad right now where it's in between that spot, but yeah, so far so good. I don't know if you're still there with me or not, or what's going on, but I'll be quiet for a second, see if you got something to say. If not, I'll just keep on talking and wait for you to get back. Nothing doing. Okay. So as far as you know, like the stories we've talked about, that's our familiarity with the Skinwalker, right? We get like the third or fourth or fifth hand stories from legends or maybe passed on or kind of whispered that it's not kosher to talk about this stuff. So we end up with kind of versions that aren't really accurate to what these things were. Like Danon said, they're named Coyote. They called him Coyote. Or coyote, right? Like these are what they're telling the children that they are now in these little storybooks they make for them. So it is like an education process, and there's still information coming out from unfortunately that fragmented past of the Long Walk in 1864 and the rest of that. So they lost a bunch of their stories, and absolutely fascinating, all this stuff, and we got some other good questions to get to as well. So when Danon gets back, we'll do that. Let's go to the chat and look at the chat for a sec. I'm going to be quiet for just a sec. If you're there, Danon, just let me know. Just let me know that you're back and you're ready to go, and we'll keep on trucking. But just go ahead and interrupt me because I can talk. I I tell you what, I can just talk. That's what I do. All right. So let's see. What do we got? Let's see. What's up, John? The feed cut. We're good. What's up? Scott says. Yep. Let's see. Benjamin says, what's up, Benjamin? Thanks for being here tonight. Benjamin says, all these national forests are based around native land that have been desecrated by people who don't know about the Skinwalker legend. Once the site is desecrated, they go missing. I'm Native American, so I know the whole story. My mom used to talk about, when I was young, they are protectors of sacred sites. There you go. Good stuff. Thanks, Benjamin. Let's see. What else do we got? Reading the chat, guys. Let's see. Good stuff over here. What's up, Johnson? What's up, Penny? I see you there. Thanks for being here. Many subjects answered. Couple shout outs. Who else? Dwayne Dibley. How you doing, my man? Let's see. What else? Let's see. What's up, Scott? How we got to get we're talking about skinwalkers and we're talking about Joe Biden? Come on. Yeah. Feedcat. I don't know if you're there, Danon. If you are, like I said, feel free to interrupt me anytime and let me know you're back. Let's see. He's still in the Discord? No. That would explain it. No longer in the Discord. Are you there, Danon? Testing. One, two.
Yeah. Sorry, my phone kind of just died out real quick.
You're good, man. You're good. It's all fine. Like I said, I was saying I can talk, man. I can talk. You just you give me a pause and you let me go and I'll fill it up. That's what I do. So it's okay. We're all good. We're all good, man. Okay. So a quick comment here from Benjamin. He says, all these national forests are based around native land that has been desecrated by people who don't know about the Skinwalker legend. And once the site is desecrated, they go missing. He says, I'm Native American, so I know the whole story. My mom used to talk about it when I was young, and they are protectors of the sacred sites. So there we go. There's another one to add to your patch of stories. Pretty crazy stuff. We all settled there, or how are we looking?
Someone touched on too was can these skinwalkers appear in metropolitan areas like cities, urban sprawl areas, I guess you would say?
That's a great question. What is the answer to that?
Possibility these skinwalkers probably can end up in these urban cities because there's a lot of controversy with each city, I guess you would say, if it does involve tribes. But notably, I guess, part of the Odom Nation and whatever other ancient tribe used to inhabit Phoenix, they probably had ancient offering sites, places they would go to, they like pray, give spiritual offerings, make holistic offerings or have ceremonies in these areas. And it's not a possibility that a paranormal skinwalker, can pick up on these sensitive residual energy. And some of these sites do have connections with I guess you would say ley line, the magnetic, one of the magnetic say it.
Intersections of the magnetic field.
And we have several see connections with all that also. So it is a possibility that these can be in towns or haunt people that live in these towns.
Because
either it be direct or indirect.
I see. So it's kind of like in just almost any other culture, right? It's like it's summoning evil spirits, right? So it may be an accidental thing where you're performing these rituals as maybe even like a sloppy protection thing, and you do it wrong, and it draws the power that's happening with these rituals draws this spirit to you. It sounds similar, huh? Something like that.
Yeah, and there's also another thing that I could probably touch up on how cult practices plays effect with these skinwalkers, because when the occult trend was happening, I guess I forgot when, like around the 60s or the 70s, when Charles Manson, Richard Ramirez, and all these other occult believers, we had, I guess you would say, a little crisis with our own people practicing occult practices that were trending at the time. And what I believe is that whatever portals or things they brought forth, either they know how to close these circles and complete the whole thing, or they freaked out and it left it entirely.
Just left it open.
yeah, I think some of these beings are having. I guess there's weird things that happen in our outskirts of our town, and there's things people talk about that they see spending time as they spend time in these rural areas. And I guess you would sort of say there's like an unseen evil force conflict going on between these occult, whatever these things were brought forth, having conflicts with these paranormal skinwalkers, sort of say.
Okay, so you're saying that there was a like in the term in the 80s was the satanic panic, right? When everybody started playing Dungeons and Dragons and talking about demons, and so you're saying there was something similar in the Navajo culture where they were actually trying to combat this, and there was occult ritual going on, and as a result, you think maybe it crossed over with the Skinwalker or not? Yeah,
a lot of things played during those times with people being unable to leave the res. Lots of trends like the rights, the human rights fight with Martin Luther King, our AIMS, American Indian Movement. It was only after all this that we sort of got the recognition to have our culture written, but at the same time, there's people around these times that didn't take it, I guess would say, quite seriously to learn their culture. So they would find an outlet, either it be for many personal reasons why they wouldn't connect their culture again, but many would find an outlet to find in occult practices.
That makes sense. That seems kind of normal in this day and age. And I want to make a quick comment too about what you said about maybe skinwalkers being able to go into the cities. Maybe they're drawn there by these occult practices or whatever they are. People summoning rituals or ley line connections where they're doing either intentionally or inadvertently. It makes sense to me, right? So like in the old days, like the old days, like the wilderness, right? Like you call it, quote, the jungle, right? It seems like in some parts of like a large inner city, like that's become like the new, right? Like the new wilderness in a bad way.
Jungle.
Yeah, in a bad way though, So like kind of like just like you get in a bad spot in the wilderness and you could perish just from being there. And some places where you get in the worst areas, it's similar, So it makes a little bit of sense that as a hunting ground, as a place to manipulate people and trick people and do the things that are maybe associated with this entity, that the city seems as likely as anywhere. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. It's kind of good to know that these speculations aren't only just mine. These are also thought of by other people and stuff. Yeah,
definitely. Like you take what you can and then you try and fill in the gaps, and that's how we get the stories here. Okay, so then, so we'll get to the rituals in just a sec, like the sand painting ceremony and that. But I want to ask you just before we do that: does I asked this just before you cut out last time, or a couple times ago, anyway. So are all skinwalkers evil? Are they all tricksters and they're all evil spirits? Are there other types of skinwalkers that are not?
From view them as skinwalkers, but there's two genders of coyote, of like a male and a female version. I guess you would sort of say they are kind of like a duality between benevolent and malevolent. And the Hopis have sort of like a little taboo that's taboo from Navajo culture to see if these are benevolent and malevolent, sort of playing with like a paranormal conjuring type thing. But yeah, there are malevolent and benevolent skinwalkers.
Okay, so they do both exist. Does it? So you mentioned two genders of them. Does it matter? Is it like maybe the males are more aggressive and the females are not, or is it just kind of a mixed bag? You never know.
What I was told again was that coyote the male coyote comes as black. The female coyote comes as gray. And I guess that would sort of signal like benevolent and malevolent. But yeah, that's how I would see these types of skinwalkers.
I see. Okay, so not quite sure, but it seems to be the black one would kind of be the dark fur of like the black magic and
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, there's also the kind of like an urban legend whisper that medicine men are like the trinity to these skinwalkers because they come in the form of a white, I guess you would say white color type thing. Okay.
So wait, now so you say the medicine man might be the balance between the two. Does that mean that?
Yeah. It's like a holy trinity type thing.
Okay. So does that mean that medicine men themselves can become skinwalkers? Is it possible for a person to become a skinwalker?
Yeah, it's been long thought that these medicine men that they know these ancient ways to become skinwalkers. It's kind of all of the things I have, I guess you would say are new to how Western trends depict them. But one I was told is the way you can tell if a medicine man is a skinwalker secretly is let me touch up on a off topic real quick. When you're born, you're given, I guess you would say, consecrated items that are that have meaning in Navajo culture. And one of these items is a cottonwood root. It's used as a fire poker, but it's also used in ceremonies, and it's also used by Navajo medicine men themselves too. But the belief is that while you're having a ceremony and if you give your consecrated root, now these come as fire pokers, like long poker sticks, and if you give your stick to a medicine man while you're having a ceremony and it cracks on the medicine man while it's being poked in the fire, that the medicine man practices evil ways because it's not supposed to happen if the medicine man holds it. But if you hold it and it cracks while you're poking the fire, that means something unworldly is probably haunting you in some sort of way. And it's the belief that with this fire poker, how it's consecrated through many ceremonies, rituals, as you're growing up for your ceremonies, the belief is that if you encounter, probably say like a physical person that is a skinwalker, I guess, or the paranormal skinwalker, the one I have depicted of, there's a belief that with this consecrated item, and how if it's pointy enough, because there's meaning behind if it's how it's shaped, like a triangular prism, but there's meanings if it has more than 4 sides and stuff. But the belief is if you stab a skinwalker with this, you can physically kill them.
Okay.
You end the skinwalker's life.
I see. So that was actually going to be one of the questions I was going to ask you a little bit later. So let's just get straight to that. So that's one way to kill a skinwalker. Is there any other way? Like I've read some other things that seem a little bit like they're from a horror movie. You know, like you dip a bullet in white ash and you shoot it, or you use a silver bullet like you would a werewolf or something like this. Is there any truth to these things?
Yeah, that's one of the misconceptions too, the misinformation. traditionally, or now we do, but before then, we our practices were just for us, and that the white ass adoption is kind of like I guess you would say it's a plain, the Midwest Native American, their superstition that you can use white ash.
Okay, so it is a thing. It does exist. It just not with the Navajo.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I also heard this as another way to kill them. That so a skinwalker is made from a person, and it's some sort of secret ritual ceremony. And in this ceremony, only like 3 close family members are allowed, and the identity of the skinwalker never escapes past this trio of the people making the ceremony. And then so if you recognize a skinwalker as a particular person and you call out their name, it will kill them. Is this something you've heard, or any basis to this at all?
New generation, people probably older than me and people younger than me, this isn't a conception morphed in from Catholic views of how you can vanquish demons by just calling their names, knowing their names. Much like how Ed and Lorraine Warren are.
Okay, I see. So
Navajo legends and taboo.
Okay, so not quite. It's not really. It's not something that goes back in the actual legends here.
The theory that that there's like a lineage or a coven type thing. It's not widely known, even to me, that if they do these types of things, like congregation to practice their rituals and type stuff. But from
You just cut out, unfortunately, again. Always the best part. You're about to tell us something scary and then you cut out.
Hey, I perceive how skinwalkers pass on their teaching is kind of, as cheesy as it is, I kind of perceive them as how, like, the Sith do in Star Wars. They only pass it on to one person, and there's a lot of speculations I have of how a person can become one. It all deals with having a clear conscience, like a clear mind to only focus on becoming a skinwalker, I guess you would say, because these also play a role with some of the rituals, the Navajo ceremonies we have. And I guess you would say it's sort of like an opposite thing, like connection I made with our culture.
Okay.
There is an evil version to many of our ceremonies that is kind of getting lost and not known because of how much taboo stuff we have not talk about and not asking the elder about. It's kind of a learning repercussion to even learn about, and it takes time, but I do have collective information, kind of, sort of.
Okay, so it's kind of like just like you would say, like if anybody was out there, maybe dabbling in magic or witchcraft or these types of things, like there's always a danger there. So that kind of makes sense. There's something similar that there's like, if there's white magic, there's going to be dark magic to kind of go along with it and to balance that out. Okay, so let's go to those to those rituals. Some of those rituals. So I know you talked about the Navajo sand paintings. And some of these are called dry paintings, or the places where the gods come and go. Maybe these portals. Can you tell us a little bit about the sand paintings?
One that someone made too that I kind of thought fascinating was these are like kind of like a spell or an opening of a portal for like an invitation to bring unworldly things about. But in our culture, the sand painting is a very sacred thing. Like there's many different sand paintings with lots of different depictions and meanings for each turn, each color, each thing drawn out in the sand painting. But the belief is that a medicine man, an evil medicine man who turned to the dark ways, would know these types of ceremonies, the opposite of these sand paintings, I guess you would say the negative effect of these sand paintings. And if the person they are the ritual on, again, how I perceive them as like a Sith Lord lineage type thing, but for whoever they're passing it on, they sort of entrance them into their power with the singing, the drumming, the holy words we have, the meanings in the sand painting, whatever ritualistic meaning it has to open up and invite these things. They manifest into this person, and this also has another connection I want to make with the illustration that I made, was that there is a human. The human is human, whatever you see, like the limbs, but whatever you probably see as animal around it, probably say if it looks more like a wolf or a werewolf or a lichen, that perception, that illusion is the paranormal entity that has been conjured to attach itself to coexist with human. And that is one connection I made just from the drawing I made. And I've always thought of it as unique, and it is a unique connection, I suppose.
Okay, so just to make the distinction here, you're saying that there's like a paranormal coyote or skinwalker, and it's not necessarily the spirit as the entity runs around and does its thing. It's summoned through some sort of dark magic through these sand paintings, the evil kind, of course. I want to make the difference. There's two kinds. There's the good kind, the bad kind. But you can summon the paranormal skinwalker through these ritual sand paintings, and then kind of use them to do your bidding. This type of thing. Yeah,
you can. They somehow summon the paranormal side. I guess you would say that fuzzy black mass with the protruding needles. I speculate that's the paranormal attachment to whatever it was to human attachment. And it kind of makes sense in a way, if in Navajo perception. But yeah, I think something paranormal is conjured in the land, from the land, to inhabit the person, to do these, to traverse across land on all fours, or to have the paranormal entity to shapeshift to an animal head, or help the human part of it have the power of any animal leg it wants, or any animal depiction it wants to have, even if it's multitude of animals.
Okay.
Because we do have a...
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, you.
I was going to say, because we do have two separate versions of how... not two separate versions, two mythology monsters. I think one being the Skinwalker, it able to transform, and we have harpies. These, I guess you would say, bird people. But yeah, we do have harpies in our culture too.
Okay, like the ancient Greek harpy, same sort of thing, right? So, like people with bird heads, or do they have wings, or what are they?
Yeah, again, we don't have depictions of how harpies and how these monsters look. Either it be taboo or not known of, or it's just not commonly known about.
I see. So interesting that a lot of these the dark magic, the evil stuff, right? It's almost like it's been suppressed, right? It's like you're not allowed to know what these things look like. Kind of an interesting angle here that there's no even sketches or drawings or anything in these in any kind of literature or. Yeah, definitely interesting to me that it's not the only culture in the world where you're not allowed to, like for instance, utter the name of a demon, these types of things, right? Like you're not supposed to be able to say and do these things and know what they look like. Very, very taboo across the board.
Yeah, we also have, say back then, we had people who didn't want to modernize into how Navajo Nation currently is. There was people who defected to stay traditionally, to live off the land and basically just live Navajo traditional life. And there is an off branch from this too of just regular peaceful hermits, kind of like how the Amish live, people just trying to make an everyday living. And I guess you would say there's a savage version of a hermit in our culture, or in those trends back in those days too. Even now today too, hermits aren't commonly seen, but they were seen back in those days, herding animals out in the rural lands before highways and roads connected everything in all the towns we have. They were seen out there just living off the land. There's even stories of 1970s when the Navajo Nation police was slowly starting up as the police departments and stuff. The EMTs, there's stories of them venturing out there and finding these hermits to give them medical aid and stuff too. And there's also stories of them coming across these evil side of these hermits. I guess you would say a paranormal kind of, like a touch of the Navajo occult side. And it's pretty unique too to learn about these stories, even from the people who talk about them and how it happened and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's unique to know that we did have hermits back in the 70s. But commonly now, with how everything's connected, a lot of roads, towns, a lot more Navajo people, there's a lot more Navajo. Not commonly to have a hermit out there now.
Gotcha. Okay. I got a question here from Benjamin in the chat. Wants to know if you ever had a dream where you were a skinwalker in your dream, or if not, is there any significance to that? Is maybe I don't know. I guess you tell me.
I'm not much of a dream interpreter, but weirdly enough, I did have some dreams about running on all fours, and it does feel tripped out in a dream to run on all fours. And there's meanings behind things that medicine men, I guess you would say dream interpreters, like shaman dream interpreters, that can probably help sort through what your dreams mean and how they're depicted. Because modernly, back in those times, even now, medicine men are seen like as an A-team. Each one has their own special way of how they can be a medicine man, either it being a kind of touching on with physical therapy, psychological therapy, dream interpretation. But then there's also the special few, I guess you would say, kind of like the Vatican exorcist, how they only call upon an exorcist during a time of crisis that involves demonic hauntings. And these medicine men also differ between as like mediums, any energy drawers, conduits, people who can I forgot how you say it. People who can meditate to connect to the paranormal world, sort of like mediums.
Like spirits
and
type of stuff. Be able to talk to spirits and things.
Yeah, and this is also a branch off from the Navajo witch purge I recently learned about, and that's something new to learn about too.
Yeah, that one's super fascinating to me. So there's a bad, like the bad sect of the shaman that they at one time hunted down and purged. That's again terrifying. All of that's terrifying. That it becomes like a holy war against the dark side. I mean, to be again a little bit more cheesy Star Wars, but it just seems like, execute Order 66, right, and hunt them down and take them out. That's crazy stuff. Okay, all right, so we got lots more to get into. How you feeling? You okay with time? We got
yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay, having fun?
Helping me sort through some of my stuff.
Okay, fantastic. I'm typically decent at that, so I do say this and I mean it. Anytime you want to come on, you got information, you want to tell a story, you know where to find me, man. You let me know. I'm blessed to have you here. Everybody who's out there listening right now is enjoying it, and we're appreciating you. So if you're welcome anytime. Just want to let you know.
Oh yeah. That's good.
Okay, it's fantastic. Let's go. Let's go into a little bit more of this then. Let's go to how about let's see. We did the trickster spirit. We did what they look like. We just did the anything else on the painting ceremony or any of the rest of that while we're on it, the sand painting?
Oh, we're still on rituals. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's also the hoop dance. If you ever Google Navajo hoop dance videos, there's supposedly an evil version of that too. No, this also differs off into, I guess you would say, UFO speculations that is among the Navajo urban legend about the hoop dances and stuff. But it is believed that this hoop dance somehow, again with how the shaman manifests the paranormal entity to coexist with you. But it is believed that the hoop dance builds a barrier around you to help you traverse in the sky, I guess you would say, to have the speed of wind, lightning, anything air elemental, I guess you would say. And we have, I guess you would say, I've heard from Navajo scary stories people tell. Personally, people I know, or just hearsay from just asking and stuff. But people talk about how a paranormal, my category of the paranormal skinwalker, that they are able to turn into balls of fire. So, like, not it differs a lot. Some say they turn into like an orb, just a regular paranormal orb, and it has a weird, I guess it can defy physics, I guess you would say. Then there's people who say this thing turns into a fireball, an actual fireball, and it emits many types of different colors, like I guess you would say, coming out of this sphere. And people trip out on it, and there's an urban legend that children, because when they're born, they're so close to being so close to the spirit world because they're so young. There's a lot to touch on with that, but it is believed that children can see these things, either it be paranormal or supernatural. It is because they're so close to being so close to the supernatural world that they can see things that adults physically now won't even be able to see. And this also touches on with the duality concept with the swastika, and there's a lot of meanings, kind of like an ecosystem meaning with how each line is drawn. not the current Nazi swastika, but our swastika was different. And each line's each line's at the end of the swastika that draws off into 4, and depending on which culture you're in, each of those lines have meanings. Either it be kind of like an ecosystem meaning, or an animal balance ecosystem, or a elemental ecosystem, or just in the land in generally. But I kind of lost my train of thought again.
I got you, brother. I got you. That's what I'm for. Okay, so ritual wise, it does make sense. So you mentioned the kids there, and they're able to see things because they're, like we call it in some cultures, we call it the veil, right? So they're closer because they just came from the spirit world into life, and so age-wise, they're closer to that world, and so they're able to, before they grow out of it, they're able to see things. So JJ on Facebook here says that, yeah, kids can see stuff. My kid has tripped me out. So I mean, this is definitely not just a Navajo thing. This seems to be worldwide culture as far as the paranormal goes, right? Like the old movie trope, right?
Yeah.
The kid. This is, I can see dead people, right? Like something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's special meanings between the numbers, our numbers of 4. Either it be 4, 18, 12, 16, 32. All those have special meanings in some way in each culture too.
Yeah, definitely. I want to go back to that fireball too, real quick. So so regarding Skinwalker Ranch, right? There's tons of stories that come out of that. Like that's how most people are familiar with the Skinwalker and the legend of the Skinwalker. Is from those stories. From it used to be called Sherman Ranch, and then Robert Bigelow purchased it, who's a big UFO activist, notorious, whatever you want to call the guy. Right? He's a billionaire, UFO billionaire, basically. But so there was a
guy, the ranch.
Yeah, the guy that owned the ranch previously, Bob Bigelow. But there's stories from these guys that say that there's a particular stretch of road on the ranch where they're driving down there, and it's like a sharp turn, and they get these fireballs in the sky that appear along this stretch of road, and it's like it appears in just such a way, like in your rear view mirror, when you should be watching the road, and you turn around to look, and it's like a sharp turn and can run you off the road, put you in a ditch type thing, like this. There's a particular stretch where it's exactly like you're describing, like these fireballs that kind of come out of nowhere. And they're not meteors. It's definitely something paranormal or a trick of the mind or something. But yeah, crazy stuff. Interesting you mentioned that, because that's one of the stories that comes out of that area. All right. I think you're trying to talk there. Okay, you're not coming through. But okay, so with that said, let's. There's more here. There's more here to talk about. There's tons more to. This is an amazing topic because there's an unbelievable amount of stuff here. All right, let's see. All right, you there? Test 1, 2. I think you're trying to talk, but nothing's coming through. Okay, so I'm going to talk for just a little bit. Just go ahead and interrupt me and get in here. Make sure that we're working again. So you actually have some of these drawings. Do you want to talk about some of these things, like what the different? Let's see. Hold on. Let's go to some of these. Let's take a look at these drawings. We saw the Skinwalker one with the look like quills or fur or whatever that is. What about the one with the cliffs and the burrows and the boulders? Any of that? If you're still there. Oh no. Complete disconnect. Okay. All right. So we're here with, he's going to, I imagine he'll get back on in a sec. Complete disconnect though. All right. So we're here talking with our new friend. His name is Danon. He lives in Navajo Nation, and he's an expert on skinwalkers. He's a paranormal researcher that is kind of trying to get into the culture of and the mythology from years past, from generations past. And so he saw a skinwalker when he was young, or about in middle school, and he's kind of made it a life's mission at this point to kind of collate the stories and the eyewitness accounts and the rest of these things, and try and turn this into something positive to spread the knowledge on what these things actually are. So I think he's back in. Here we go. So here's Damien again. What's up, buddy? You there?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Disconnect. It happens. It happens to the best of us. Don't worry, man. No sweat. No sweat. Can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, good. So, all right. So I've got these sketches that you did on Reddit. Do you want to talk about these? I pulled up the one that had the burrows and caves, the cliff edges, the crevice. Any of this? Got comments on this while we got it up?
That's the one we kind of touched up on. Like, where they dwell. Where can you commonly find these at? But yeah, in my documentations, sort of say these all happen around areas that have crevices, and we also have volcano cones, ancient volcano activity from Flagstaff. The Flagstaff area is all widespread across the Navajo Nation, and I believe these things also dwell around volcano cones because these also have lava tubes that go hundreds of miles underground, probably if you can fit or probably not. These are also seen around boulders, and one that was spotted around boulder cliff edges is the National Geographic actually got it, was the Howler.
I actually have that.
I think that's on YouTube.
I have it. So I saw it. I saw that you put it up on your subreddit there. I'm going to link his subreddit, guys. Go join his subreddit. He shares stories as he gets them. It's just starting, but there's several really good stories in there. And I took that Howler thing and made it into little clips. So I'll play that tonight as you finish up or as you're ready to get going. I'll play the actual audio of that Howler where I watched that whole video. It's like maybe 8 or 9 minutes long, but I just cut it up into audio clips.
It's kind of cool too that our police department, especially the Navajo Rangers, they have a paranormal task force because, again, with my documentations and their encounters, they do encounter people trying to mimic skinwalkers, wearing skin hide and all that, trying to stalk people, and there's people that have been arrested dressed up as skinwalkers, but because of confidentiality with the jails system and stuff like that, some of these aren't widely known even to the common Navajo, and that's also the unique information I got too. And but yeah, the Paranormal Task Force, the Navajo Rangers, they go out and investigate things people say, like they're saying they're being haunted by skinwalkers and such. But the one they documented, I believe, is the glowing eyes I've also seen out in Monument Valley. And that is the one I've seen in Monument Valley all happened before this episode, The Howler, came out. And when I seen it sent chills up my spine because of those glowing eyes. And it kind of did strike a little fear in me when I did see it personally, and when I seen it on that TV, it just sent goosebumps up my spine.
It was a little bit terrifying. So he's talking about on, I think it's the National Geographic Channel. I've got the clips I'll play for you guys, but they have an actual paranormal task force in their police. And that, if they're, getting, in this particular one, it's called the Howler, and they were getting howls in the night, reported from different places. And so they're literally, like, these cops are tracking down, kind of like the Ghostbusters from the movie or something, right? They're literally going out to kind of find what's up with the paranormal stuff. I thought it was fascinating as hell. Okay, so we got this. Interesting to note, just real quick before we move on from this, like the boulders and the crevice and the cliff edges, these types of things that you've illustrated. As you watch more and more of the Missing 411, you'll start to see that there's some like extreme similarities between some of these things that you've noted and missing people. So curious that it lines up a little more. But yeah, pretty nutty stuff here.
I've always had this theory planet stuff. Also seen around abandoned uranium mines we have around here, and also Anasazi ruins that we have. And it is good. I do see similar connections with his theories of how people go missing in these areas and stuff.
Yeah, he definitely in his books he outlines exactly that there's some similarities here, and with missing people, it's pretty crazy. Okay, so we got how about the picture with the two horses here? What is this one about?
The Navajo told me. I read retail and stuff, but essentially, do you want me to tell it?
So actually, I missed that entire part you just said. So yeah, if it's a long story, that's cool. We don't have to. We can skip it. But okay, we can just skip that if you tell me. You want to tell it?
It's fine. It's fine either way.
Okay. You're acting like it's a long story here. why would you not tell it?
Yeah. What he told me was his grandfather's grandfather used to was one of those special medicine men that has a special connection to the paranormal, and he would travel from Mexico, from the northern territories of Mexico into Canada, helping people with any kind of ailments, but he didn't want any payment, like reprisals in any form. But there's always a way to somehow repay them, even if it's like a custom in different cultures. The story he told me was that in our heartland called the Navajo, Arizona, an old man was herding his animals to his winter property, and it took several days for him to return, and when he did, he seen his wife was not there. It was for Navajos to leave their stuff behind, but it wasn't very custom to leave it unguarded like that. And he had a gut feeling his wife went to someone they know in their rural region. And it's pretty common to know people who live in your rural region here on the reservation, to like kind of know your neighbors and stuff. But he went there and his gut feeling was right. And he sent his wife there. And he asked why he left their stuff and valuables unguarded. And she explained to him that, oh, I got a coyote howling outside. But she was explaining that that one of the goats came back and it only stood in one direction. And she kind of freaked out on it, that she had a stick in hand to try to snap it out, probably hit it in the head to try to snap it out, whatever. But it screamed and it just dropped dead. And it was accustomed to not be wasteful. So she butchered the goat, hung its skin up to dry in the sun, and she went about with her chores. But as she was doing chores, she heard rattling outside like a rattlesnake. And thinking it was a snake, she prepared to go find it to chase it off, like flick it off with a stick probably. But she seen that the skin was gone where she hung it. And
the goat skin. The goat skin.
Yeah, this goat skin was gone. And being aware, she went back inside to grab her rifle because she thought it would be like, scavengers or someone robbing them. And
you're cutting out again. Hey, just FYI, guys, while he's getting his connection back, I linked this direct story. So he actually wrote this story and put it on Reddit. So the first link on Reddit there is his subreddit. The second link is this story that he's telling right now. So I actually know this one because I read it from his from his account there on Reddit. And again, he's let's see, what is the name? He is Latecap3 on Reddit, and those are the two links you guys can find him there. You with us? You with us, Danon? Still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just came back in now. So I'll cut off some of this past because I've heard this before because you completely cut out. So she goes back out. The goat skin is not there. She runs to get her rifle, and then when she comes back out, the goat skin is doing what?
The goat skin, after a while, the track. And she's seen that the goat skin itself was gliding above the ground, sort of say, like floating, and she shot at it several times with her rifle, and being superstitious, she decided not to stay the night, and she took off to their neighbors. And after hearing this, the husband was sure that it was a Skinwalker haunting, and he sent her and the neighbors to go find the medicine man that was local in their area, which is the elder guy whose grandfather was. And he doesn't say much about what happened in between those days that they were gone, but they did come back, and with this medicine man, he had 3 assistants, and they asked her how far or where the skin went, and they went off from there. And just being courtesy, they built a bonfire just in case if they get lost in the night, and sort of like a waypoint for them to see in the darkness if they ever wish to come back. Not much happened once they built the bonfire, but soon after, one of the medicine man's assistants came back, and he asked if they had a horse to spare. And the couple, thinking something happened to their horse, they let them take the husband's horse because it knew the area very well. And they didn't think of it. He went off with the horse, and they stayed there with the bonfire. And into the next day, no sign of them ever coming back happen until they built the bonfire that second night. And once they built the bonfire, not soon after, a second assistant came by, and he asked if they had a horse to spare. And thinking something happened to one of their horses, they let them take the wagon horse, and off the person went, and they didn't think much of it. Then into the third night, the last final assistant came back and asked the couple if they had a horse to spare. And the husband kind of wanted an update if they found any sign of the skin, but the man, not saying much, only asking again if they had a horse to spare. The husband agreed meanly that they can ride on the white horse, only that he can come along to check on his other horses. And up into the night they went, and after some time riding in the moonlit night, the assistant rode to the sound of a drumming ceremony going on in the night. And as they come upon a ridge, looking over like a cliff ridge overlooking the lowland desert filled with watches and stuff, the assistant told the husband not to look back into the doorway of the sweat lodge, and he had to keep the glowing dim lava rocks hot, because that's what they use in ceremony sweat lodges. And he didn't think much of it because it was custom to not question what medicine men do once these hauntings are going on. It's just do what they say and don't question. So he sat there overlooking the ridge, keeping the glowing dim lava rocks, listening to the medicine man and his assistants sing. And looking down below, he's seen like a white mass. I guess you would say sort of similar to the ones I have accounted. he seen that darting in and out of these washes in no pattern, going in incredible amounts of speed coming in and out. And he was observing this atop the cliff, and he was kind of scared seeing this. And he thought it was the Skinwalker, that the skin that was doing all that. And as he was concentrated on this for so long, it disappeared somewhere in one of the washes, and the sun was barely coming up, like the blue morning sky of twilight. And he sat there listening to these men and listening to his horse stomp around, as it was his wife's horse just slowly, like, just moving around. But it's when he heard the steps of like someone, like a pattern, like someone walking, that he felt the urge to turn around, because it felt like a person was walking up on him. But the sound was of like heavy footsteps, like real heavy horse footsteps. And he was on high alert, and he felt a heart, like a hand rest on him. But to him, it felt like a clutch, hard clutch. And he screamed out and cried in agony, and he was in terror. But once he seen it was the old man, the medicine man, he kind of freaked out, because he of such a heavy presence that a person can have, or either it be because of him being incepted, to wondering what it is, or it being paranormal. And the old man asked him what he was doing out in the middle of nowhere, and the husband told him that he came along with one of his assistants so he could check up on his horses and ask about the skin. But the medicine man, was concerned, said they followed the skin that first night, and they tried trapping it into the high sand wash walls that we have here. Like predator animals, they tried sacrificing one of their horses in hopes that it would attack it, but it didn't work, and it collapsed the sand walls in on two of his assistants while they were trying to kill the horse as a sacrifice. And from there, tried tracking it into the night, followed it. They followed, I guess you would say, dark flashes in the night with the moonlight, and they rode to the sounds of like galloping horses, like an infantry of horses. And it was only when they came upon the cliff edge that the thing took refuge on top of the cliff, and they had no way of getting to the top. So his last assistant stayed down below, and he went along the cliff edge to try to find the way up, but that took most of the day, that second day. And he came upon the husband in the night. The husband, thinking he was being tricked and like being taken for a fool, he opened the sweat lodge door, hoping to see the medicine man's other assistants there, but it wasn't. What he seen on the inside was made of his horse's bones. And if you know, in Navajo culture that sweat lodges are made sacredly with special wood and different types of hide or whatever it can cover. But his sweat lodge he opened up was made from his horse's bones and his horse's hide, and he freaked out. And he seen on the opposite end, inside the sweat lodge, was the goat skin. And the medicine man took the goat skin. They burned down the sweat lodge to an ash, and from there they went back home. And that's when the wife brought up that the carcass, the meat carcass of the goat, was gone, and she couldn't find no trails. And I think I forgot one part, but yeah, after that they went to their winter property. They never returned after that, And once their Hogan started falling apart, they never really bothered to rebuild. And I guess desertification took over. And when it came to rebuild on their original property, they never did. They stayed in their winter property.
That's chilling. So the medicine man was one of the dark medicine men, right? He was actually maybe conjured that Skinwalker or cursed that goat, or he was responsible, right, behind all of this.
That Skinwalkers can conjure themselves without being seen. That's the lesson behind this story, that they can conjure without being seen, kind of like I guess you would say, an astral projection in paranormal terms.
Okay, so the Skinwalker was invisible and took the goat skin. He was the one animating it and moving it.
Yeah, and he was manipulating everything of the goat skin.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. Again, so I linked this story straight on Reddit that Dan in here has actually posted, and these are the types of stories you don't get, right, unless you know somebody on the inside. Like this is amazing. Again, thank you for sharing. And I don't know, I read the story and I was like, whoa. Whoa. If you guys want to read the entire thing, again, I linked it. Please follow his subreddit. It's Latecap Skinwalker ADV. I linked it in the chat. You guys can follow him over there. And he's adding more stories as you get them, right? You're going to add to this legacy and kind of maybe set the record straight on what some of these legends are and actually coming out of the Navajo culture, right?
Yeah, the battle against misinformation.
There it is. Fake news. We got fake news. The battle rages on everywhere. Okay, so a couple quick things there as we finish that. We got about, if you're okay, we got about 15, 20 minutes left. Can I go through like a list of these things? Okay. Let me go through a list of these things. Some of the actual, some of the claims of what Skinwalkers are. And then you can just kind of give a quick yes or no, whether you've heard that, there's some rumor or basis to that, or you think it's just complete Hollywood BS at this point.
Okay, yeah, I kind of get it.
Okay, so you're the fact check. We're going to kill some fake news here. All right, so let's take a look at some of these. Hold on, let me pull this up. Here we go. All right, so this is from the dailyhawker.com, and there's a bunch of claims here about Skinwalkers and some of these other things they can or cannot do, right? So I think that's the best part here is to kind of take these websites and really ask the expert here. Is this something you've heard? Is this something that seems legitimate, or does this seem Hollywood and made up? So here we go. Let's mow through some of these. So number one, the Navajo say to lock eyes with the Skinwalker is to allow them to absorb themselves into your body. On the other hand, some Navajos believe that if you make eye contact with the Skinwalker, your body will freeze up due to the fear of them, and the Skinwalker will use that fear to gain power and energy.
Yes, that's kind of true in some way. Like Inception, kind of.
Okay, so they do kind of take negative energy off people, like kind of fear is good for them.
Yeah, they can kind of hypnotize you, I guess you would say.
Okay. So we got some truth there. So if you were a fact checker, you would say mixture or mostly true. What do you think?
Mostly true, yeah.
Mostly true. Okay, perfect. Number two here. The Navajo won't touch a corpse for fear of accidentally summoning the shade of the deceased or making oneself vulnerable to the Skinwalker's dark magic.
Touching a dead body is taboo in Navajo culture. There's many lessons about that, but I'm not sure about the Skinwalker, touching a Skinwalker. I haven't heard much about that.
Okay, so half and half. half.
Yeah.
Okay. Number three, the Skinwalkers cannot enter a home without invitation.
That kind of ties to perception of how vampires are, and it's kind of mitigated into Navajo perception to like influential, but Skinwalkers can enter a home. That is one truth.
Okay, without the invitation though.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is false. More like vampires, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like they mixed a vampire there. Okay, here's another one. Number 4, skinwalkers use charms to fear and control their victims. Such charms include human bone beads launched by blowguns, which embed themselves beneath the surface of the skin without leaving a mark and can cause paralysis and heart failure.
Yeah, that's a common urban legend about them amongst Navajo people.
Okay, so that some truth to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, so this is actually exceedingly accurate so far. I'm shocked. I'm a little bit shocked. Okay, let's see. Number 5. It is said that some particularly powerful skinwalkers have the power to steal the skin or the body of a victim. By merely locking eyes with the intended victim, the skinwalker can absorb and effectively enable the creature to become the person physically at will. So they can kind of steal your soul and become your likeness. Is that a thing?
That is a rumor, urban legend I heard about too, even amongst Navajo people, that they can mimic you if they have enough information about you, I guess you would sort of say.
So part of that trickster spirit type stuff, they can maybe cause havoc by showing up as your brother or something and causing problems to the family. Okay, fantastic. So again, this is shockingly accurate. This is from the dailyhawker.com. I didn't expect this to be close at all. Okay, let's see. Number 6, the skinwalker will avoid bright lights where it can because the eyes of the skinwalker burn red like coals in a fire.
Some of the I guess you would say.
You cut out for literally all that.
I have documentations of skinwalkers being sighted in daylight, so it's sort of a mixed perception.
Okay, so maybe not. That one, undetermined. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this one? Number 7. The skinwalker prefers to go about naked, although they do wear animal skin, even in the dead of winter. Wearing the skins of certain animals is a major taboo and is deeply frowned upon by the Navajo community.
I guess you would have the physical skinwalker, either it be a hermit or someone mimicking them. But from illustrations I have, they all have some sort of animal hide on them. Yeah.
Okay, so the animal hide part is true. The naked part, maybe or maybe not.
Yeah, it's open to being speculated on.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so we're kind of accurate here so far. I like this. Number 8. According to Navajo legend, the only way to kill a skinwalker is to gun the creature with bullets that have been dipped into white ash. There we go. We already talked about that one, but go right ahead.
Yeah, our difference between perception of different ways, cultures of views on stuff.
So in some cultures that is true. They say if you dip the bullet in white ash, you're able to kill a skinwalker.
Yeah, it all depends on how their shapeshifter stories are, because skinwalker is a part of all native cultures in some way. There is Hopi skinwalkers, Apache skinwalkers, Ute skinwalkers, but Western trend has depicted them so much, and it has so much momentum that people, even natives, believe that skinwalkers are only of Navajo origin.
Okay. Here's another one that's part of number 8 as well. It says, if you wound, the skinwalker will bleed a yellow liquid instead of blood.
Likely, no.
No, okay. Negative. No. All right, so we got one that was not right. All right, number 9. The skinwalker is able to speak while in animal form, but it will not willingly do so because it may cause the witch to permanently lose his powers.
I'm not sure about it losing its powers, but there have been rumors that they do speak as animal forms, and it is kind of scary, I guess you would sort of say.
That's terrifying. That's scary at the least. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy stuff. So you're out there in the woods. You maybe see a coyote. You ignore it because whatever, and then it starts talking.
Yeah.
If that doesn't scare you, nothing will.
Yeah, all the similar accounts I got are from people who hitchhike in these rural areas, and it is fascinating to hear these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, here's another one. A sick and disturbing common method of becoming wealthy used by the Navajo witches is the unethical practice of fee splitting. When a skinwalker causes a victim to become ill, a healer, which is usually a witch, heals the victim that they knew the skinwalker would attack. Then the healer is paid, and the culprits split the proceeds, each taking half of the share. So the witch is working in league with the skinwalker. The skinwalker wounds or curses an individual, and then the witch cures the individual, and then it's like the hustle, the paranormal hustle. Any truth to that?
I'm not sure. No.
You cut out there. What was that?
Not that I heard of. No, I'm not sure.
Okay, so that's a pretty specific story. So I would think, yeah, unless that was told to you, that would be a no. Okay, all right. So we got a few minutes left here. I think I'm shocked. I'm a little bit shocked that the Daily Hawker had more than half of these correct. To me, like I said, I demean some of these web pages that kind of come up with these cockamamie stories and make you roll your eyes and smack your head. But I don't know. That was shockingly accurate. So as we finish up here, is there anything that we missed? Do you think we should kind of toss in for skinwalkers, or anything else, or anything else about yourself or the Navajo you think we should hear? It's just it's good to have you on, your expertise and all the rest of this, but I kind of want to give it to you to kind of plug a website if you got one, or whatever you got, man.
I have several stories of how medicine man can tell if you're being spied on by a skinwalker, and how regular people, like a little superstition of how people can tell if they're being spied on by a skinwalker. What else do I have? We touched over the hermits and mimickers, the cults, the shadows. What else is there?
There's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, we could probably go for a couple more hours here. Let's see. What do I got?
I have speculations too about them being territorial too.
Okay, so you think there's something to that, like that Skinwalker Ranch? Maybe there's a particular Skinwalker that maybe hangs around there.
Yeah, because some of the hauntings that I would document or people would talk about, people say they only last for a few days, and it's all activity ceases after those few days. And I kind of label that as like indirect, because it was probably just like passing through, trying to manifest off ambient energy or human energy. But there's also the direct contact, like it has the willingness to make itself known to you, and that also lines in with it being sort of territorial, because it can be territorial for, I guess, many or a few reasons, I guess you would sort of say. And if it is malevolent, like evil in form, it can become demonic some form. But if it is benevolent, its teaching is kind of complex to learn about, and it's very rare to learn about how these would somehow benefit you in some way after a haunting. But Hopis believe that there are benevolent forms of whatever these evil things are.
And they might look after people, or while they're traveling, or whatever it happens to be, something like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So there is again part of that the duality of the white magic and the dark magic. Like in many cultures, like one can't exist without the other. They form the basis of that balance. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. Okay, so let's see, what else do we got? Actually, how about this? Have you actually seen the television show, the Skinwalker Ranch one?
Only I've read in articles and stuff on social media. Whenever I come across it, I would probably read some of it.
Okay. Any comment or perceptions on at least the articles you've read or any of that?
The only connections I can make right now with all the stuff I have is the burning fireballs, the smell of dead animals, the shadows of thinking you see an animal. What else? The mainly. And culture, because even now I don't know much about it, if it has any ties to Navajo culture. I'm pretty sure the Utes do, because but I'm pretty sure the Utes have some stories about the area, because that area is originally part of their homeland and was contested by us in the 1800s, like little skirmish battles and such. Okay. It is a theory. There's scarce stories that Montezuma's gold is buried there.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So that's I even looked into that just a little bit, because I was like, wait a minute, Montezuma's gold? Yeah, so I guess it vanished. So yeah.
Stories of Hopis following these people who carried all this stuff into the area, or a similar area, I guess you would say, and they seen them go in to whatever cave they made, and only 2 people came out, and the whole thing collapsed. And they seen these 2 people, I guess you would say, duel to the death. And the Hopis believe that what these 2 people were doing was setting a curse down that they would guard it in the afterlife, and anybody who gets near it will face some sort of judgment or illusion to change their perception and stuff. And there's some stories among Navajo stories too, that they did come through Flagstaff, through the Painted Desert, along the south of the Grand Canyon,
which is right in your neck of the woods. You're kind of right in there, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So again, some legends here, guys. We got lost treasure. We got maybe evil spirits guarding it. There's a lot here. There's a lot to these stories, and I look forward to hearing more, man. So you're just kind of getting started with this subreddit, right? And kind of really getting going with the Reddit stuff, and you're going to share more stories as they come.
Yeah, I'm fairly learning new stuff about these channels like Twitch and stuff, Reddit, and all these other ones.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to know. I still haven't figured out Reddit. it boggles my mind, all the stuff you can do on Reddit. I'm linking your subreddit. Everybody, if you're on Reddit, if you use Reddit, I'm going to link this in the Discord as well. Please go follow our friend here. I got to look up your name because I'm a knucklehead. Danon, Latecap3 on Reddit, and he's adding stories to this. He's adding as he learns more about the Skinwalker actual stories from the Navajo culture. He's adding them to Reddit. He's actually. This is what you would do as an ancient chronicler, right? Like you would be writing this stuff down, like chiseling it in stone, or writing it on some sort of parchment to pass down to your children. Yeah. But instead, we got Reddit, so and things like this. So he's I think this is an invaluable thing you're doing. I think that not just for the Skinwalker, but for the culture, for the Navajo culture. Like there's a lot of things you're going to turn up, like that. The witch purge and these types of things, that like maybe will get lost if you're not talking about these things and chronicling them. I think that there's a good chance these things get lost to history with swallowed up by fake bad news. So again, I can't thank you enough for spending all the time with us. I know it's a long show, but we do it intentionally because there's a lot to say. Like we could still do more on this, right? Like it's unbelievable the amount of things. Like you said, you still got like probably 10 more firsthand accounts that you could tell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Sorry, go ahead.
it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. So do me a favor. Like I said, you got a friend in me. Anytime you want to come on the show, you let me know if you got a new story you want to tell and you want to get the word out there. What I'll do is I'll go back and I'll edit this up and do a nice little podcast, and where you cut out and stuff, I'll trim it up and make it so it doesn't seem that way. So we're okay. We'll be able to get through this and it's no problem. But again, thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to a lot of the folks out there listening, and I'm sure it means a lot to your family and your friends that maybe back you up getting the information out.
Yep. Thanks for helping me sort through some misinformation and stuff.
You got it, buddy. Anytime you need it. Okay. Once again, Danon, Latecap3 on Reddit, and you can find him there. And I appreciate it, man. We'll be in touch. I'm following your subreddit, and I'll be reading every post eagerly. So look forward to having you on the show again soon. Okay.
Yo.
All right. Thanks a lot, my man. I'm going to move you out to the caller queue when I'll finish up this show, and I'll send you a link too when it's all done up, and so you can share it or spread it around or whatever you want to do too. So or burn it.
All right. Cool.
Or burn it. Whatever you want to do, man. Once again, I appreciate it. Have a great night. Okay.
Yep. You too.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. All right. There we go. It's as easy as that, right? Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not so easy. But this guy has a wealth of knowledge, right? Like talking about skinwalkers and actually going through what he's learning from the past, from his elders, from the tribe, from his area, from his friends, from the places he lives in. It's again, like I said, this is modern day Chronicles to me. Like actually being able to put this information down and talk about this, and I think it's important. I think that's part of why we've always done this as well, is because so much of this information, so much of these stories, like I wish that I spent time with my grandparents and had them tell us stories about the old days, and actually got it on camera. And it's just like these are amazing things lost if we don't spend some time trying to get them back. So there you go. Good stuff. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. I know the connection there was rough. He warned me. He told me he was going to be like that. I told him we'll get through it. It's no problem. So there you go. That's there's all you ever wanted to know about a skinwalker and more. And not only that, like follow him on Reddit, like I said, and he's posting. He's active on there. He's that story he just told. He actually was actually just wrote that on Reddit, and I read it the other day. So I was like, what? Hey, I read it. See that? Yeah, it's on Reddit, and I read it the other day. See what they did to me? They made me say it twice in one sentence, those jerks. But okay, yeah, fantastic stuff. What's up, Lee? I see you there on Facebook. Let's see. What other chat did I miss? I'm sure I missed a ton of chat. Sorry, guys, with the chat. You know how it is. Trying to stay focused here and keep the conversation going. But anyway, yeah, Sherry says actually seen one. Actually, can you imagine actually seeing a skinwalker? Holy smokes, I agree. That would change you. And that's kind of what he said, right? It kind of changed his reality and kind of sent him down this path. So maybe this was meant to be. So, okay, as we finish this up, like I said, I'll clean this up. I'll drop it on the podcast, and you'll be able to listen without all the interruptions, and I'll clean it up as much as I can, and it shouldn't be too bad. It should be pretty good stuff and pretty good information. I think that's the important part here. So, let's see. What do we got? Let's see. Nice. Okay. All right. So I'm going to play some outro music, and you know the deal, guys. You know the deal. If you want to help us out, actually hold on. Let's take a quick break. I promised I'd play these clips from the paranormal investigators in Navajo Nation. So I'm going to do that. So let me go hit the little boys' room. I'll be right back, and we'll play 5 more clips. We'll do bonus time tonight, and kind of tack on to the back of this because we're going to have to trim some of it out, and then we'll have a full story here. So hang on for just a few minutes, 2 minutes. I'll be right back, and then we'll play the rest of this and the story he was telling about how the Navajo police have a paranormal task force and how they chased the Howler one night. So give me just a minute or two. I'll be right back, and we'll finish this up with these clips. So hang tight. It's not done yet. Be right back. Yeah, you thought it was done, right? You left, didn't you? That's all right. If you didn't, then you're in for a treat. Paranormal Task Force. That's right. It's a thing. What's up, Christian? I see you there. I see you on Facebook. Thanks for showing up. All right, let's finish this up and let's play some of this. What's up, Paul from Newcastle? How you doing? Hello, Penny. I didn't say hi to Grumpy Granddad. Thanks for showing up. What's up, Bailey? What's up, Penny? Hello. Noble Kal-El, thank you. Says great show so far. I thought it was good stuff. I thought it was definitely fantastic information. And again, a little bit shocked that the pop culture website versions of this are at least half accurate, according to the expert there. Okay, so anyway, he was talking about a paranormal task force that the cops basically chase around, what, like skinwalkers or monsters or whatever it happens to be. So hold on, here we go. I'm going to play clip 1. This is from National Geographic, and part 1, Paranormal Task Force on Navajo Nation. And yeah, let's see what this is all about. Part 1 action.
For the past 4 months, something has been terrorizing the people in this rural community. Locals have reported hearing horrifying screams in the dead of night.
When I first heard this, it just went straight, like it went, ooh, for a long time. But the second sound, it sounds like a female cry.
Many believe that the creature, known as the Howler, may be the Navajo version of Bigfoot. Others claim it's a Skinwalker, a Navajo witch that deals in sickness and death. 6 weeks earlier, the Crown Point officers tried to locate the Howler by using the recording of an alleged Bigfoot in an unsuccessful attempt to lure it out of the hills. Official policy requires investigating cases involving the supernatural on the Navajo Nation anytime the public becomes concerned. So today, members of the Strategic Reaction Team will check out a remote canyon.
We're still getting these reports of howling, screeching at night. And further back, towards the east here, we got a report of footprints. But again, it's still speculation, and our captain and our lieutenant still want us to check the area, make sure if we find anything, see if we do find anything. We're looking for any kind of signs of a large animal or anything like that.
And it goes all the way around back out to the cemetery.
Officer Gladys Antone lives at the mouth of the canyon. She and over a dozen others have heard the Howler late at night.
Okay, so they're out. They're getting reports of the Howler. So this is a Bigfoot type thing from the Navajo culture, maybe a Skinwalker. They don't really know what this is, but they send the cops after these things. So they get calls. 911. What is your emergency? Well, we're hearing the Howler again. Could you come out here and check it out? And they do these things, right? It's on the thing. So the video, I will link the video, and you guys can actually watch it yourself. It's like more of a dramatization. There's no actual thing to see. So, but I will link it where I got this audio from. But that's part 1, right? So they come out, they're looking for this Howler, right? They're hearing howls in the night, and they send the police, their paranormal task force, actually after this thing. So let's play part 2. This is pretty short, and then we'll finish up, and we're done for tonight. Here we go. Part 2 of 5, action.
So when you guys heard it, what did you?
When the dogs hear it, they come up here. And they run around up here. In the morning hours, you can see them up here running around.
The most reliable sources in this area that has been seen or heard. Dogs also being chased, and I believe there was an earlier incident where one of the dogs was mauled.
In fact, Officer Antone discovered her own dog savagely mauled by an unknown creature.
From there, more recently, they heard this howling again 2 weeks ago. Whatever it is, it's still out here. And that's basically our assignment today, is to check the area, see if we find any sign of it.
Martine divides the officers into 3 groups.
We'll take the outer one. You guys will take this one.
It's right under that shade. Might be a coyote walking right in there.
They search the ground for tracks and check out caves in the canyon walls.
See, I guess we get up there and we'll check the tracks.
By 1 p.m., the teams have made their way to the back of the canyon.
Right where you're at, look to the east. Hold on, you get up on top. Big old rock, you didn't even cross. You're right on top. See, there's a cave. I think he means that one up there.
The officers head towards the cave. Suddenly, they hear a strange noise coming from the valley to the west.
Did you hear that howl?
Okay, so there we go. Now we got a howl, right? Now, so we have the literally like the cops have a paranormal task force that they send after these things. There's a howler that they're after, right? It's been reported. It's been kind of terrorizing the area, and they're out looking for it. So there's part 2. Here's part 3. The Navajo Nation Paranormal Task Force, action.
Later, died, no?
Did you hear that howl?
Yeah, I heard it.
This is the actual howl recorded by our crew.
It's north of us.
Something howling back here. Yeah, I heard it too. It's north of us.
Did you hear it again?
Really faint.
Does it sound like it?
Sounds like it.
It's coming this way, huh?
The officers may finally be closing in on the howler.
It was a howling, definitely a howling, but nothing like I heard before, not like a dog. Didn't sound like an elk either. It didn't sound like any other animal that I've heard. Not like a coyote or a wolf. I know I heard it at least 3 or 4 times. I'm thinking 4. The other 2 teams, I don't know.
In Navajo tradition, strange animal smells often accompany Skinwalker sightings.
If you smell anything, let us know. It came from this direction from where we were at, that last area. I figured it was in this area here where it sounded like. It didn't sound too far, but we are downwind. So it could have been a little bit further out too. But as you can see, whatever is running around out here has a lot of places to hide.
Sherry wants to know, is it looking for a mate by howling? Maybe, right? So they're out there. Here's, again, the Navajo Nation. They're out there on the reservation looking for, with their paranormal task force, they're looking for something called the Howler. And they don't know if it's, again, like some sort of Bigfoot or if it's a Skinwalker or who knows, somewhere in between. Like our friend Danon is actually his name, was saying. There's lots of monsters, right? Like it's built into the culture, into the myth that a lot of these monsters roam the earth, and they're out there. They're out there, and he saw a Skinwalker. He can attest. All right, so here we go. Part 4 of this, and as you'll see, as there's a little bit of a resolution here, where they're looking for this thing. It's they're sending out folks to find it. They hear the howl in the night, and they think they're onto something. And here we go. Part 4.
Yeah, we've been on this for 2 hours and a half now. Let's see, we covered about 2 miles. Still no signs of track, but we did hear something. I'm still tracking supposedly where the noise came from. But no signs of any tracks or anything yet.
500 yards away, Willis Martin and his team have picked their way up into the rocks below the mesa.
From where you're at, can you see just above us, those rocks?
Yeah, we're looking at it. It looks like there's a cave right below the ridge.
From his position, Bryant can clearly see a cave high in the cliffs, directly above Officer Martin.
This stretches from here probably about where these 2 trees are, right behind it?
Yeah, right on top of it.
Using the scope of his rifle, Bryant guides Martin's team towards the cave.
You can't really see it from here. We're going to have to walk up there.
As the officers climb through the rocks, they encounter a strange odor.
We can smell that. And that's just the odor. Or down below, I could barely smell it, but when I first got up here, I could really smell it. It reminded me of an old billy goat. And if you look at that tree behind you, there's looks like the bark's almost torn off of that.
Then, our camera crew makes a startling discovery. A pair of eyes, staring at them from the darkness.
A pair of eyes staring from the darkness, right? They're onto something. They think they found it. It's up on a cliff on the ridge. He's got it in his rifle sight. He's trying to direct the people up there to find it and bring the Howler to justice. Can you imagine this? This is your job, right? You're out there as a cop on the reservation. They're like, well, we got another Howler call. Get your ass out there and catch Bigfoot. So here they go. Last part 5. Red eyes up on the ridge. Action.
And through the scope of his rifle, Brian thinks he spots something in the cave.
I'm sitting in there. I can see something in there, but I can't tell what it is.
Martine approaches carefully.
In here?
Yep, right over the top.
He tosses a rock into the cave. Then, rifle at the ready, he peers inside.
Right there, yep. Nothing yet for you.
No.
Yeah.
You had 3 or 4 people back there. Or lower. But there's nothing back there. There's no signs, no tracks, no scuff marks on the rocks.
If the Howler lurked in the cave, it somehow vanished. Martine's team prepares to push further up the valley, but they get an urgent call to return to the station.
Just a little while ago, the lieutenant called me on my cell phone and told us to get back up to the high school. That they got reports of supposed to be a gang fight at the school, and he wants us to get back over there.
Although the officers call off their hunt, they finally have the first solid evidence of the Howler. A pair of eyes recorded by our cameras, and the howl itself captured by our microphones.
I heard it at least 4 times, so there is something. I'll say that. There is something.
There you go. That was a segment on the Paranormal Task Force on Navajo Nation. A little bit scary, right? It was a little bit scary. Red eyes in the night, howls in the darkness, and that's what you get. This is your job. Imagine you get the radio call. Go get him. Good stuff. Again, like I said, if you're still out there listening, Danon, I gotta say it right. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for educating us on actual real folklore from your native peeps there. It's again, like I said, I was excited about this, and you definitely didn't disappoint. So thanks, everybody, for sticking with us. Like I said, long show. You guys know how it is. And we'll be back. We're going to do our thing. We'll be back on Tuesday, and maybe we'll be back for some aliens, or who the hell knows. Maybe we'll be back with some election tampering. You never really know. But yeah, hang tight. Stick in there. Everybody have a great weekend. And I'm going to play some outro music, and I'm going to finish this sucker up. Let's do it. Let's play this one, because this is one of my favorites. Yeah, that's right. Oh boy, too much fun sometimes. Yeah, you know what? You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio, and I'm your host, Michael Strange. If you want to help us out, you know what to do. The most important thing, I see you there, William. I see you there. You told Carl, what's up? What's up, Carl? I see you. William, thanks for inviting folks. Tell a friend. Tell somebody. Say, hey, get in here and listen to this stuff, guys. Even if you don't believe it, it's a good thought experiment. You hear what eyewitness accounts of other people, and there's a lot here. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to think about. You already know. If you're here, you know. It's an easy sell. Everybody wants to hear about aliens and Bigfoot. They just don't want to admit it. So there you go. Most importantly, tell a friend. If you want to help us out, thank you, Penny, again for dropping links in the chat there. We have a store if you want to support us and pay for some of the hosting and stuff that we do. The phone line costs money. The hosting the podcast costs money. You know, I don't want to bitch and moan, but if you want to help, that's how you can help. Troublelines.org. Click the store, and you can buy some merch there. We will be adding to that shortly. And yeah, at the end, you know what's up. Tuesdays, Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. We know it's a long show. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for being enthusiastic. Thanks for making me keep coming back. Because if y'all just disappeared, I'd stop doing it. Yeah, like I said, I can always talk to myself in the corner all by myself. So there's always that option. Anyway, you guys are the best. One more time, if you're here right now, you are officially the Troubled Minds superfans in my heart and forever. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for kicking it. Thanks for dealing with the bad connections, and hopefully you got something out of it tonight, because I think there was a lot here. You guys are the best, and we'll catch you soon. One more time. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio, and I'm your host, Michael Strange. Catch you Tuesday night. Have a great weekend. From our Troubled Minds to yours. Have a great night. And Penny has told friends, FYI. Thank you again, Penny. Penny's bringing new people every show, it seems, so I appreciate that a lot. Thank you again, guys. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice night.